Chapter 522. Li Meiyu trembled when she saw the bald man. She grabbed Qin Haodong's arm tightly and said nervously, "Haodong, this is the bald man from that night?" It turned out that the bald man was the one she had beaten in the KTV that night. Qin Haodong had driven him away. She didn't expect to meet him here again today. Qin Haodong also recognized the bald man, but he didn't care at all. He said lightly, "Don't be afraid. No one can hurt you with me here." Li Meiyu nodded and leaned closer to Qin Haodong. Only he could give her the greatest sense of security. At the same time, the other people in the room also became nervous. Although Zhang Lei and the others boasted that they were both gangsters, they were still students who had not stepped out of school. They were still a little nervous when they saw these real gangsters. Seeing the fiendish baldy, these people all looked at Feng Bowie in unison, as if Feng Bowie was their leader. "Brother Bald, why are you here?" Feng Bowie didn't disappoint them. He immediately greeted the bald man as if he was very familiar with him. He did have dinner with his father, Feng Wanqian, and brother Wolf, so he knew that the bald man was Wolf's #1 fighter. Unexpectedly, the bald man didn't give him face at all. He pushed him aside and said rudely, "Don't try to get close to me. I don't know you." Feng Bowie suddenly felt embarrassed. He had no choice but to tell his father's name, "Brother Bald, my father is Feng Wanqian." However, the bald man still ignored him and shouted to everyone in the room, "Cut the crap. Brother Wolf wants to see you. Come with me." Then he turned around and walked out of the room, as if he was sure that these people would follow him. Hearing that the famous brother Wolf wanted to see them, these people didn't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. They became more and more nervous. Gung Jun looked at Feng Bowie and whispered, "Mr. Feng, what should we do?" Feng Bowie forced himself to say, "Don't be afraid. I know Brother Wolf. It must be a good thing." After saying that, he followed the bald man out and the others also followed behind him. As a game, Qin Haodong also wanted to see what the famous Brother Wolf looked like. He held Li Meiyu's hand and mingled with the crowd. Because the light in the KTV was not bright, the bald man did not notice them. VIP room #1 had an area of about 100 square meters, so it didn't seem crowded even with Feng Bowie's group. When Feng Bowie arrived at the private room, he immediately saw the drunkard beside Wolf. He immediately knew that something was wrong. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect that the drunkard was actually one of Wolf's men. If he had known earlier, he would not have dared to make a move even if he was given 100 guts. "Brother Wolf, are you looking for me?" Feng Bowie bowed and forced a stiff smile on his face. Song Lang pushed away the woman who was massaging his legs and stood up from the sofa. He walked up to Feng Bowie and the others and glanced at them coldly. Gung Jun, Zhang Lei and the others also saw the drunkard and realized that the situation was not good today. Under Song Lang's gaze, they felt great pressure and could not help but tremble. Feng Bowie's forehead was covered with cold sweat. After half a minute, Song Lang began to speak, "You little bastards, who gave you the courage to hit my cousin in my KTV? Do you want to die?" Feng Bowie bit the bullet and said, "This is all a misunderstanding. We didn't know that this big brother is your cousin. My father is Feng Wanqian. Please show some respect, Brother Wolf." Song Lang said arrogantly, "Feng Wanqian? How dare a shabby restaurant owner ask for respect from me?" Feng Bowie saw that his father's name did not work, so he quickly said nervously, "Brother Wolf, this is really a misunderstanding. How much does this big brother need for medical fees? We'll pay for it." "Pay for it?" Song Lang sneered, "Do I look like someone who lacks money? You slapped my face today. No amount of money can buy that." He turned around and said to the drunkard, "Cousin, you can do whatever you want with these people today as long as you don't kill them." "Thank you, cousin." After the drunkard said that, he walked up to Feng Bowie and the others and shouted arrogantly, "Little bastards, weren't you arrogant in front of me? Didn't you say that you can take advantage of both sides? Why don't you pretend now? I'm going to kill you today." Feng Bowie and the others were so nervous that they trembled. They did not know what vicious means the drunkard would use to deal with them. The fat man was obviously the kind of person who would take revenge. He pointed at them and shouted arrogantly, "Little bastards, how dare you hit me? Kneel down. Brother, let's talk this out. How much do you want to pay for it? We'll pay, okay?" In the end, Feng Bowie still couldn't let go of his pride. But before he finished speaking, he saw the drunkard pick up a bottle of red wine next to him and hit him hard on the head. With a muffled bang, bright red wine mixed with blood flowed down from his head. Then his body shook and he fell to the ground with a plop. Seeing that the drunkard was so ruthless, the others were suddenly afraid, and the female students even screamed shrilly. Plop, plop, plop. Since the leader had been knocked down, the others no longer had the courage to fight. They all knelt on the ground one by one. In the blink of an eye, only Qin Haodong and Li Meiyu were left standing there hand in hand, which looked a little abrupt. Only then did the bald man notice the two people. His expression suddenly changed and he said to Tsang Lang, "Brother, that guy is the one who beat me that night. I didn't expect that he would fall into our hands today. I must destroy this guy." The drunkard also said, "Cousin, I like that little girl. I must have sex with her tonight." The two of them kept their eyes on Qin Haodong and Li Meiyu as they spoke. No one noticed that Tsang Lang's expression had changed greatly at this time. Pa, pa, pa. Tsang Lang raised his arm and slapped the two of them a few times. "Shut the F***ck up." Everyone was stunned. They didn't know why Tsang Lang suddenly hit his own people. The bald man and the drunkard were both confused. They covered their cheeks that had been slapped and looked at Tsang Lang in a daze. They didn't know what they had said wrong to make the boss so angry. After hitting the two people, Tsang Lang trotted over to Qin Haodong. The arrogant appearance of the gangster boss had disappeared without a trace. He bowed and said, "Excuse me, are you Mr. Qin Haodong?" Qin Haodong was very surprised. He glanced at him and said, "Do you know me?" "I'm Tsang Lang." "Greetings, Grand Boss." Tsang Lang said and bowed deeply to Qin Haodong. It turned out that after Xiong Taijun of the biker gang and Yang Jinlong of the Sanjiang Society had been taught a lesson by Qin Haodong, they had quickly spread the news of him throughout the underground world of Shanghai. Everyone knew that there was a grand boss above King Ma, who was absolutely not to be provoked. In order to avoid provoking this grand boss, all the gangsters had a photo of Qin Haodong in their hands. Tsang Lang recognized Qin Haodong from the photo. At this time the people in the private room were dumbfounded. No one had expected that Tsang Lang, who was like an emperor in their eyes, would bow to a young man. His attitude was extremely humble, as if he had put his face in his crotch. The bald man opened his mouth wide in surprise and couldn't close it for a long time. His eyeballs almost popped out of his eye sockets. Feng Bowie and the others were even more stunned and even forgot the pain under their knees. The scene in front of them was even more surprising than seeing dinosaurs on the street. What was going on? How could a bumpkin who was extremely despised by them become the grand boss of Tsang Lang? What was the grand boss? The boss of the boss? Qin Haodong immediately realized that it had something to do with Ma Wenjue when he heard the title of Tsang Lang. However, this was also good. He didn't need to do it himself, which saved a lot of trouble. Little wolf, right? Qin Haodong glanced at Feng Bowie and the others who were kneeling on the ground and said lightly, "You're quite powerful." Although he didn't like these people at all, after all, these people got into trouble because they stood up for Li Meiyu, so he helped them. Tsang Lang had been out there for so many years. People called him Brother Tsang Lang or Boss Tsang Lang. This was the first time he had been called Little Wolf. However, he didn't dare to show the slightest dissatisfaction. He quickly bowed and said, "Grand Boss, this is a misunderstanding." "It's definitely a misunderstanding." He turned his head and shouted to his men next to him, "What the hell are you doing? Hurry up and help Grand Boss's friends up." The hooligans hurried forward and helped Feng Bowie and the others up. After these people stood up, they looked at Qin Haodong together, their eyes full of gratitude. If the young man hadn't spoken up for them, the consequences would have been really unimaginable. They might have been disabled by Tsang Lang. Qin Haodong didn't pay attention to these people at all. He looked at the bald man and the drunk man and said to Tsang Lang, "Are they your men?" "Yes, they are my men. These two guys are blind and offended Grand Boss. I'll ask them to apologize to you now." Tsang Lang turned his head and shouted at the bald man and the drunk man, "What the hell are you still standing there for? Hurry up and kneel down and apologize to Grand Boss. If Grand Boss isn't satisfied, I'll disable you." The bald man and the drunkard trembled in fear and hurriedly knelt down on the ground. "Supreme Boss, we were blind and offended sister-in-law. You and sister-in-law, please forgive us and let us off this time." The two men knew that they had provoked a big shot this time. If they didn't come up with something, it would be difficult for them to get away with it. After that, they raised their hands and slapped their faces loudly. Qin Haodong turned his head to look at Li Meiyu and said, "How do you want to deal with these two people?" Li Meiyu looked at the two people kneeling in front of her. Although these two guys were very annoying, she felt comfortable from the bottom of her heart when they called her sister-in-law. "Forget it. That's it. Let them scram." Tsang Lang yelled, "Did you hear that? Sister-in-law asked you to get out." "Thank you, Grand Boss." "Thank you, sister-in-law." The two were grateful and thanked them again and again. They got up from the ground and ran out of the private room. "Grand Boss, we really deserve to die for offending you and sister-in-law today. Here's 1 million. Don't think it's too little. Please give it to you and sister-in-law to calm down. As Tsang Lang spoke, he handed a check of 1 million yuan to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong raised his hand to take it and put it in his pocket without looking at it. Today's matter is over. Keep an eye on your men in the future. After that he took Li Meiyu out of the private room. Seeing that they had finally passed today, Tsang Lang breathed a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, Grand Boss didn't pursue the matter. Otherwise, if King Ma knew that he had offended Grand Boss, he would directly break his bones and smash his KTV. He wouldn't be able to stand in the underworld in the future. In contrast, taking out 1 million yuan was simply a small amount of money. Chapter 523. Great boss, where are you going? Do you want me to send you a car? Wolf followed Qin Haodong and said with a flattering face. No need. We'll walk by ourselves. Qin Haodong waved his hand and left the Wild Wolf KTV with Li Meiyu. Feng Bowie and the others also left the KTV. It seemed that Wolf had waived all the expenses tonight for Qin Haodong's sake. After going out, these people couldn't calm down for a long time as they looked at the backs of Qin Haodong and Li Meiyu. No one had expected that this inconspicuous young man had such a powerful background. Feng Bowie in particular, felt a chill down his back and broke out in a cold sweat when he thought that he had dared to compete with Brother Wolf's great boss for a woman. Fortunately, Qin Haodong was magnanimous and didn't stoop to his level. From this moment on, he had listed Qin Haodong as a person who could never be provoked. Qin Haodong and Li Meiyu strolled on the street. Li Meiyu turned her head to look at him and asked, "What do you do? Are you a gangster?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Do you think so?" Li Meiyu shook her head and said, "I don't think so. But why is Wolf so afraid of you?" "He's afraid of me because of a friend of mine. It has nothing to do with me." Qin Haodong didn't want to continue this topic and said, "Don't go out with others casually in the future. You saw how dangerous it was today. If I hadn't followed you, you would have been in big trouble." Li Meiyu didn't speak, but she knew very well that if Qin Haodong hadn't been there today, she would have been raped by Wolf. She couldn't count on Feng Bowie and the others. But she still said angrily, "Why didn't you pursue me?" Qin Haodong said helplessly, "We're still students. You have to give me some time. I've always been a slow person to warm up." Li Meiyu stopped, stared at Qin Haodong and said, "Are you sure you like me? You're so beautiful. Anyone would like you. Don't play dumb with me. I'm just asking if you like me." "Me too. So do you like me?" Qin Haodong nodded. Li Meiyu said, "Then kiss me." "I don't think it's a good idea. There are so many people on the street watching." Li Meiyu stared at him and said, "No, you're lying to me if you don't kiss me." "All right then." In order to complete the mission, he could only sacrifice his own body. He lowered his head and kissed Li Meiyu on the cheek. "Is it okay now?" "No, I'm talking about here." Li Meiyu pouted her red lips and said, looking at the girl's serious look, if he didn't kiss her, she might make trouble. Qin Haodong could only lower his head and kiss her again. Originally, he just wanted to give her a light peck, but unexpectedly, Li Meiyu hugged his neck and they kissed each other tightly. After a long time, Li Meiyu let him go and said with a smile, "From now on, you are my boyfriend." Qin Haodong was speechless and said, "That counts? I haven't even started chasing her yet." Li Meiyu smiled and said, "There's no need. I've already agreed." Qin Haodong could only pray that the task would end soon. Otherwise it would be troublesome if it continued like this. The next day, Qin Haodong continued to go to school with the beauties. As soon as he sat down in his seat, Ji Fubao came over mysteriously and said, "Boss, let me show you something good." "What is it?" Qin Haodong asked. Ji Fubao took out a piece of A4 paper from his pocket and handed it to him. "This is the latest list of the top 10 campus belles on our school forum. Sister-in-law is on the list. The top 10 campus belles. Interesting." When Qin Haodong was studying at Jiangnan Medical College, the school had also selected the campus belles. However, at that time he was just a nobody. The distance between him and the campus belles was too big, so he could only look at them from a distance. Then he took the A4 paper from Ji Fubao's hand and stared at it. He had thought that Nailan Wushuang and Qi Wan'er would definitely be at the top of the list with their outstanding appearances. He didn't expect that the first place was not their names, but a girl named Feng Wu. She was also studying Chinese medicine, but she was in her second year of college. Then he looked down and found that the second place was another strange name, Li Jiumei. The third place was Nailan Wushuang, followed by Qi Wan'er, Li Meiyu, and Su Hui. A total of the top 10 campus belles were selected, and their Chinese medicine class occupied 4 of them. He had lost interest in the remaining 4 people. He looked back at the two names in front of him. What kind of girl could be more beautiful than Qi Wan-er and Nalan Wushuang? This made him a little curious. Ji Fubao said, "Boss, in fact you don't have to care too much. In fact, the beauty of the top few beauties is not much different. The ranking has a lot to do with personal preferences. Although sister-in-law is ranked 5th, she is not much different from the first place." Qin Haodong agreed with this point very much. Plums, orchids, bamboo and chrysanthemums each had their own strengths, and everyone's preferences were different. For example, yesterday Feng Bowie pursued Li Meiyu, who was ranked 5th, instead of Nalan Wushuang, who was ranked 3rd. He looked at Ji Fubao and said, "Have you seen Feng Wu?" Ji Fubao shook his head. "No." Then he said, "Boss, don't think about the beauties in other classes now. It's good that you can keep an eye on our class. Think about it, our class has 4 of the top 10 beauties and all of them are at the top. The horny students of the other classes are all eyeing our 4 beauties, so we have to protect them." Qin Haodong smiled. He didn't care about this. He was very confident in Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan-er. As for Li Meiyu and Su Hui, it was very difficult to pursue these two girls. "What are you two whispering about?" At this moment, Li Meiyu, who was sitting in front of them, turned around and grabbed the A4 paper in Qin Haodong's hand. When she saw the content, she exclaimed, "The list of campus belles, you are really boring." Then her face became gloomy again. She didn't expect that she, the number 1 beauty in Hong Kong's upper class, was only ranked 5th in the Shanghai Medical College. This made her proud heart hurt. Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan-er were sitting next to her. From the bottom of her heart, she was quite convinced by the appearance of these two girls. At least they were on par with her. But why were the other 2 women ranked 1st and 2nd? Were they really so beautiful? Hearing her shout, several other girls also gathered around. Qi Wan-er saw the content of the paper and cried, "You men are really boring. Why do you rank us? Why don't you rank yourselves? Men are also ranked." Ji Fubao took out another piece of A4 paper from his pocket. "Do you want to see the 4 Prince Charming of Shanghai Medical College?" Before he finished showing off, the A4 paper in his hand was already in Qi Wan-er's hand. There were 4 men's names written on it. Zheng Hongda ranked 1st, Zhou Tao ranked 2nd, Sun Jin ranked 3rd and Qin Haodong ranked 4th. Seeing that her sweetheart was only ranked 4th, she suddenly became unhappy and said discontentedly, "Who ranked this? Are they blind? Why is Haodong ranked last? He is obviously the most handsome." Her words resonated with several other girls. It didn't matter if they were ranked last, but they couldn't rank Qin Haodong 4th. "Fatty, tell me, why is Haodong ranked 4th? Qi Wan-er cried. "That's right. Brother Haodong should be ranked 1st. Even Su Hui, who was indifferent to fame and fortune, couldn't help but feel indignant for Qin Haodong. "Beauties, I didn't rank this. You can't argue with me. If I were to rank, the boss would definitely be 1st. Facing the attacks of the 4 beauties, Ji Fubao had a bitter expression on his face. In fact, the ranking of the Prince Charming is not only based on individuals. There are also many factors mixed in. The top 3 people are the children of the 3 great families in Shanghai, while the boss doesn't have much background. It's not easy for him to rank 4th. All right, don't quarrel. Class is about to start." Qin Haodong hurriedly comforted the girls. As Emperor Greenwood, who dominated the cultivation world and the dream lover of countless fairies and saintesses, how could he care about the name of the Prince Charming? This matter was over, but the 2 lists that Ji Fubao took out quickly spread throughout the class. Everyone knew the ranking of the top 10 campus belles and the ranking of the 4 campus Prince Charming. At noon, everyone still went to the cafeteria to eat together. As soon as they walked to the place where Feng Bowie had appeared yesterday, they were surprised to see 2 large groups of roses lined up in the middle of the road. There were about 1,000 roses. The red roses were arranged in the shape of 2 hearts, and the word Wushuang was written in the middle of the hearts with yellow roses. In front of the roses stood a handsome young man. What was different was that he was not wearing a suit and leather shoes, but a traditional Wuxia martial arts suit. Shanghai Medical College was a very open university. After entering the university, everyone was an adult, so the school did not restrict things like love. They even showed extreme tolerance. Because of this, many men and women had gathered around to watch the fun. "This is Zhou Tao, one of the 4 Prince Charming on campus. What is he doing here? Is he going to confess to a girl? Wow, it's so creative. If he pursued me, I would marry him immediately and give birth to a lot of monkeys for him. Didn't you see the word Wushuang written in the middle of the roses? He is the Prince Charming of our school, the young master of the Zhou family. How could he like you? Young Master Zhou is the top student in the school and the president of the martial arts club. Why is such a talented person not pursuing me? My heart is going to break. Qi Weiner's eyes were sharp. She saw the 2 words on the roses from a distance. She held Nalan Wushuang's arm and said with a smile, Sister Wushuang, this seems to be your pursuer. He made so many flowers. Seems that he is very attentive. Do you want to think about it? Nalan Wushuang rolled her eyes at her and said, Think about what? Think about whether to give you away or not. Qi Weiner said with a smile, He is pursuing you. He won't accept me even if he gives me away. Nalan Wushuang grabbed her under the arm, then bypassed the roses and continued to walk forward. Wushuang, wait a minute. Don't go. Zhou Tao had also seen Nalan Wushuang. He hurried to her and opened his arms to block her way. Nalan Wushuang frowned and said in a cold voice, Who are you? What can I do for you? Zhou Tao's eyes were burning and he said solemnly, Nalan Wushuang, my name is Zhou Tao. I was fascinated by you the first time I saw you. You are the goddess in my heart. I carefully prepared these flowers for you. Can you give me a chance to pursue you? Chapter 524. Zhou Tao was tall, sunny and handsome. Otherwise he would not have been named one of the 4 Prince Charming of the campus. Coupled with his prominent family background, he was a great attraction to girls. After hearing his confession, the crowd immediately quieted down. They all wanted to see how Nalan Wushuang would react. I guess she will agree. Although Nalan Wushuang is also one of the campus belles, Zhou Tao is also the Prince Charming of the school. They are a perfect match. Agree quickly. What an affectionate confession. Such a romantic rose. If it were me, I would definitely agree. My goddess, don't agree? Leave us single dogs a little hope. No. Under the attention of the crowd, Nalan Wushuang refused Zhou Tao without hesitation and then took Qi Wan to the canteen. Wait a minute. Zhou Tao stopped in front of Nalan Wushuang again and said, Why did you refuse me? Can you give me a reason? Did I do something wrong? Or am I not good enough? Sorry, I already have a boyfriend. Impossible. I've already learned that you are single and have no boyfriend. It seemed that Zhou Tao had really put a lot of effort into Nalan Wushuang and had a certain understanding of her relevant information. Seeing that this fellow refused to let go, more and more people began to gather around him. Nalan Wushuang pulled Qin Haodong back and said, See, he is my boyfriend. Impossible, Wushuang, you can refuse to accept me but you can't just find someone to cheat me. Zhou Tao didn't believe it at all. But just as he was talking, Nalan Wushuang hugged Qin Haodong and kissed him. She turned back and said, How is it? Did you reply? Zhou Tao had made countless assumptions before, including whether Nalan Wushuang accepted him or not, but he never thought that such a scene would occur. His goddess should kiss someone in public. The people around were also stunned. No one expected that Nalan Wushuang, who had always been low-key, would be so hot. Li Meiyu was stunned on the spot. What the hell was going on? Qi Wan whispered in her ear, Don't mind it too much. Sister Wushuang just borrowed him for a while. Li Meiyu was stunned. How could she borrow him like this? Qin Haodong wiped his mouth and looked innocently at the hostile eyes around him. I didn't do anything. Why are you looking at me like this? Zhou Tao came to his senses and a burst of anger hit his head. He took 2 steps forward to Qin Haodong and said angrily, Boy, you insulted my goddess. I want to duel with you. Since the first time he saw Nalan Wushuang he was shocked. After careful planning, he officially began to confess his love today, but he did not expect this result. He couldn't get angry at the goddess in his heart, so he could only vent his anger on Qin Haodong. Seeing Zhou Tao openly issuing a challenge, the surroundings suddenly became noisy. This guy'd even. He dared to challenge of Wushuang. He is, Wushuang's will. Even if someone told him that Qin Haodong was the best master in the world, he would not doubt it. Well, let's eat. Qin Haodong did not take this little thing to heart. Zhou Tao's cultivation was at the 8th level of the overt power, and his master was at most a master of the covert power. After dinner, everyone went back to the classroom to continue the class. The bell of the last class rang and the day's class was over. Qin Haodong and the others were about to go out, but they found Zhou Tao at the door of the classroom. This guy had just pulled out the rose thorns on his body and applied the purple potion. He looked white and purple, which was very funny. He looked at Qin Haodong with a gloomy expression and said, Boy, my master asked you to meet him at the back mountain of the school. Do you dare to go? Qin Haodong smiled slightly. It was true that the master came after he beat the disciple. However, since the other party came openly, he had to accept it. Okay, lead the way. He asked Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan to take Li Meiyu home first. The three girls knew his skills, so they were not worried. They left the Shanghai Medical College together. Qin Haodong followed Zhou Tao and walked to the back mountain of the school. The area of Shanghai Medical College was very large. Behind it was a towering mountain with a nice name called Gentleman's Mountain. It was said that it was the highest point of Shanghai City. Half of the scenery of Shanghai City could be seen from here. They came to the top of the mountain. There was an open space here. Because of its high position, there was no one around. It was quiet. A tall figure in black was standing on the top of the mountain with his hands behind his back. He seemed to be enjoying the scenery in the distance. Seeing this person and Qin Haodong, his heart slightly moved. He originally thought that Zhou Tao's master was at most a master of covert power. He didn't expect that he had reached the realm of supreme power. Zhou Tao trotted all the way to the back of the man and said respectfully, "Master, I've brought him here." After that, he turned around and said, "Boy, you bully me because of your skills, don't you? Now let's see how arrogant you are. No matter how powerful you are, can you be more powerful than my master?" This guy had been taught a lesson by Qin Haodong and was covered with rose thorns. His heart was full of anger. Now he had found his master and was determined to teach the guy in front of him a lesson. "Young man, my disciple can't beat you because he is not skilled enough. But it's wrong for you to make him have rose thorns all over his body. Isn't this a humiliation?" Zhou Tao's master turned around as he spoke. When he saw Qin Haodong's appearance, he was suddenly stunned and couldn't say a word. "Master, you must uphold justice for me. Teach this brat a good lesson." Zhou Tao didn't notice the change in his master's expression. He was slapped on the back of the head by the man before he finished speaking. Then he came to Qin Haodong with his neck in his hand. "Little bastard, kneel down and call me master." Zhou Tao was dumbfounded. What happened to my master? Even if he couldn't beat Qin Haodong, he shouldn't be scared like this, right? "Master, I..." Just as he was about to ask, he saw his master bow to Qin Haodong deeply. "Disciple Lei Bao greets you, master." It turned out that Zhou Tao's master was Lei Bao, who had wanted to be Qin Haodong's disciple. At that time, Qin Haodong helped him break through the threshold of the supreme power realm, but he didn't accept him as a disciple. However, Lei Bao had always treated Qin Haodong as a disciple and was extremely respectful. Today he was dragged to Gentleman Mountain by Zhou Tao. Originally, he wanted to support his disciple and shock the younger generation, but he didn't expect to meet Qin Haodong. "Master, I didn't expect this little bastard to offend you." After saying that, Lei Bao waved his hand and slapped the back of Zhou Tao's head again. "Hurry up and kneel down to apologize to the master. If the master doesn't forgive you, then keep kneeling." Zhou Tao almost choked to death by his own saliva. He had spent a lot of effort to persuade his master to support him, but he didn't expect that he would be called a master. However, he also knew that his master's temper had always been firm. He could only bite the bullet and kneel on the ground. He gritted his teeth and said, Mas. Grandmaster, I'm sorry. I offended you." "Forget it, I didn't accept you as my master, so I'm not your master," Qin Haodong said as he waved his hand gently, and an invisible force lifted Zhou Tao from the ground. Although Zhou Tao apologized, he was completely under the pressure of Lei Bao, so he was originally extremely unconvinced. Seeing Qin Haodong's skill, he was extremely shocked. Releasing genuine qi and turning it invisible into tangible was the ability of a supreme power master. He looked younger than him, but he had already become a supreme power master. How did he do that? In the past, his master often said that he was not qualified in martial arts, and he was very unconvinced. But after seeing Qin Haodong's cultivation, he completely knew what talent was. They were about the same age. He had just reached the 8th level of overt power, but Qin Haodong was already a master at the supreme power realm. The gap was so big that he couldn't raise his head. Lei Bao said to him, "Little bastard, you even dare to offend the master? If it happens again, I will break your legs immediately. And remember, when you see the master in the future, you must be respectful, do you hear me?" Chapter 525. "Got it, master?" Zhou Tao replied respectfully. He was convinced this time. In terms of cultivation level, it was not shameful to call a supreme power master his master. Lei Bao nodded and turned to Qin Haodong and said, "Master, you've come to Shanghai. Let me treat you to a drink to show my sincerity and do my best as a host. It can also be regarded as an apology for my lack of discipline." "Well, let's have a drink together." Qin Haodong was not disgusted with Lei Bao's straightforward character, so he agreed directly. The three of them left Gentleman Mountain together and appeared in a Chuanwei hotel half an hour later. After Qin Haodong and Lei Bao sat down, Zhou Tao had been busy next to them with a respectful expression. Soon the wine and dishes were served. After a few drinks, Qin Haodong looked at Zhou Tao and said, Lei Bao, is Zhou Tao your personal disciple? Why is his cultivation so low? Hearing this, Zhou Tao said with shame, It's not your fault, master. My aptitude is too stupid. Normally, the disciple of a supreme power master should reach the level of internal strength, but Zhou Tao was only at the 8th level of overt power, which was really unreasonable. Lei Bao said, He is indeed my personal disciple, but his aptitude is too ordinary. Normally, he is not suitable for practicing martial arts. However, this child has been obsessed with martial arts since he was a child. His father and I are friends, so I reluctantly accepted him as my disciple. After studying for more than 10 years, he has not made much progress. Now he is the personal disciple with the lowest cultivation in my martial arts club. After a pause he said, Zhou Tao's character is good. He is down to earth, not impetuous and loyal. Although he is from an aristocratic family, he does not have the air of a playboy. That's why I came here today to support him. I didn't expect to meet you, master. Qin Haodong nodded and said to Zhou Tao, You are from the Zhou family. What's your relationship with Zhou Xinju? Zhou Tao said, Master, she is my sister. Oh, don't call me master in the future. Sounds awkward. After all, he had been Zhou Xinju's boyfriend in name, and their relationship was also good. If her brother called him master, he would be taking advantage of him. Lei Bao said, How can I do that? We people who practice martial arts can't ignore etiquette. Qin Haodong said, Forget it. His sister and I are friends. It's a bit confusing to call him that. How about this, you can call me boss from now on. Just treat it as etiquette. The word boss could be big or small, it was also a form of respect. Lei Bao did not say anything more. Got it, boss. Zhou Tao agreed. Although he was mediocre in martial arts, he was very quick-witted. He immediately realized that the relationship between Qin Haodong and Zhou Xinju was not ordinary. He said with a smile, Boss, are you pursuing my sister? Nonsense. Your sister and I are just ordinary friends. Don't talk nonsense. Boss, if you want to pursue my sister, I'll raise both my hands in agreement. I can also help you. Zhou Tao admired Qin Haodong to the extreme and he had his own ideas. If he had a supreme power master as his brother-in-law, it would definitely be a very cool thing. Qin Haodong was speechless. How could someone take the initiative to be his brother-in-law? Lei Bao glared, You're getting more and more out of hand, no respect for your elders. Soon, the three of them changed the topic, but after such a scene the atmosphere became much more easygoing. Qin Haodong wanted to know the strength of the three great families from Lei Bao, so he asked, With your cultivation, what level are you in Shanghai? Lei Bao said, I used to be a little bit weaker. Since my teacher helped me break through the supreme power realm bottleneck, I can be regarded as a top master now. Qin Haodong said, What about the three great families? There should be a lot of hidden masters in their families, right? Lei Bao said, There are naturally many masters in the aristocratic families, but supreme power realm masters are also rare. Among the three great families, the Sun family's martial arts strength is the strongest. They have 3 supreme power realm masters, and the strongest one is at the 2nd level of the supreme power realm. The Zhou family and the Zheng family only have 2 supreme power realm masters. Of course, this is just the strength on the surface. I don't know the specific situation. Zhou Tao said, Our Zhou family does have 2 supreme power realm masters, but they are very powerful. They only listen to my grandfather's orders. They don't even agree to teach me some martial arts. Obviously, this guy was not satisfied with his family's realm masters. Lei Bao scolded, How can you blame others for this? Any supreme power realm master is a strong man, and they choose their disciples carefully. You are not good enough, so how can you blame others? If your aptitude can reach 1/10 of the teachers, I'm afraid that those who want to accept you as their disciple will trample on the threshold of the Zhou family. Zhou Tao curled his lips and said helplessly, How can you blame me? I can only blame my father for not giving me such good genes. After the meal, Lei Bao left with Zhou Tao and Qin Haodong also returned home. After entering the door, several girls sat in the living room watching TV as usual. Seeing him come back, Nalan Wushuang asked, How's the matter? Qi Wan'er then asked, How is that guy's master? Is he powerful? Qin Haodong said, It's nothing. The matter has been completely solved. His master happens to be an acquaintance of mine. In the future, Zhou Tao will not trouble you anymore. Qi Wan'er said with a smile, That means that no one will pursue Sister Wushuang in the future. It's boring. Nalan Wushuang glared at her and said, You stinky girl, there are dozens of people chasing after you every day. It's not interesting. The next day they went to school as usual, After sitting in their seats, Ji Fubao immediately came over and said, "Boss, big news, big news." "What happened?" Qin Haodong asked. "There have been new changes on the campus Prince Charming list. After you defeated Zhou Tao yesterday, you jumped to the 3rd place and Zhou Tao became the 4th place at the bottom." "Oh, you're telling me this early in the morning? Is this also big news?" "Of course, isn't it big enough?" Ji Fubao smiled mysteriously and suddenly took a large stack of letters from behind. "Boss, look, this is the charm of a Prince Charming." Qin Haodong said in surprise, "What are these?" "Love letters." Ji Fubao said excitedly, "Since your ranking rose to the 3rd place, your popularity has been even higher than the first 2. Since yesterday, many girls have sent love letters to our dormitory. Tian Buguang and I read them all night. I'm really envious." As he spoke, he handed the letters to Qin Haodong. "Boss, take a look. There are many girls who say that they are willing to have babies with you." "Ah." Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "Throw them into the trash can." Now the 4 girls in the class had already made him anxious. How could he be in the mood to read other people's love letters? Boss is indeed boss. He's actually so calm and collected, throwing away so many love letters with a wave of his hand without a trace of regret. When can I have 1/10 of boss's elegance? At this time Tian Buguang also came over and said, "Just throw them away. Don't talk so much nonsense. Boss, there are so many top campus belles to pursue. How can you care about those vulgar girls? Go to class." Qin Haodong waved his hand and drove away the 2 coquettish guys. After a whole morning of classes, it was soon time for lunch. They walked out of the classroom together. Ji Fubao said as he walked, "Boss, I bet 5 yuan that today's lunch will definitely not be peaceful. There will be some guys who don't know their limits jumping out to pursue our campus belles." Tian Buguang said, "I think so too. I don't know how many animals are drooling around our class now." Ji Fubao said, "But boss is here. It's useless even if they are dehydrated." Qin Haodong said, "Okay, don't jinx it. Don't you think there's enough trouble?" He was really a little annoyed after the past 2 days. Although these people were all small fries who couldn't cause any trouble, it was still very troublesome. Therefore he hoped that he could have a quiet lunch today. However, things didn't go as he wished. At the same time in the same place, there were already many people gathered on the way to the cafeteria. Ji Fubao sighed and said, "Boss, the tree wants to be quiet, but the wind will not stop. It seems that you have to get into trouble even if you don't want to." Tian Buguang said, "Femme fatale. Boss, you dominate the 4 campus belles by yourself. A master will not be lonely. You are destined not to be lonely in this life." Although the 2 of them were talking nonsense, Qin Haodong knew that trouble had come after all, and it was bigger than before. Not far in front of them 4 young men stood there. They were wearing snow-white taekwondo uniforms and holding a long banner in their hands. The names of Nailan Wushuang, Qi Waner, Li Meiyu, and Su Hui were all written on the banner. Under the banner, a young man in the lead said to the onlookers, "Students, my name is Kim Yankwon. I'm a student from Koryo who came to Wuxia. I'm also the president of the Taekwondo Club of our Shanghai Medical College. The 3 people next to me are the vice president, and Qishuan, Piao Zaixiang, and Li Shanzhen. They're all like me. Outstanding people naturally choose outstanding girls. So today I want to announce one thing to everyone. The 4 girls on the banner, the 4 female students of the Chinese medicine class, belong to our Taekwondo club from now on. None of you are allowed to pursue them. There is an old saying in Huaxia that we should say the ugly things first. Now I have officially notified you. If anyone else pursues them, then don't blame us for being rude." As soon as he finished speaking, Ji Fubao scolded angrily, "These guys are really bad. How dare they be so arrogant in our Huaxia?" Tian Buguang said, "They are really used to being arrogant. Who do they think they are? God, why do they say that the female students in our class belong to them?" Dai Hongbing, who had been silent all the time, also spoke, "These guys are really annoying. They are all robbing dead people from our Huaxia. They said that Chu Yuan, Li Shizhen, and Confucius are all theirs. Now they even want to rob the living ones. Are they crazy?" Li Meiyu also scolded, "I hate Koreans the most in my life. Even if all the men in the world are dead, I won't even look at them." They were extremely indignant, and so were the other students. "What? You arrogant guys, hurry up and get out of Huaxia. Get out of here. Our Shanghai Medical College doesn't welcome you. Hurry up and get back to Koryo. What right do you have to control our female students from Huaxia? You're really shameless." Kim Yankwon seemed to have been prepared for this result. He smiled disdainfully, raised his voice and said, "I know that you Huaxia people are not convinced, but whoever has the bigger fist is the truth. After school today, our Taekwondo dojo will be open to everyone. Those who are not convinced can come and challenge us. As long as you can defeat our Taekwondo, then what I said just now will naturally be bullsh*. If you can't, then step aside obediently. Chapter 526. Ji Fubao gritted his teeth and said, "Arrogant, too arrogant. Boss, you must teach these arrogant guys a lesson." Tian Buguang said, "This is equivalent to issuing a challenge to all the men in our school. I really don't know where these guys get their courage from." Li Meiyu said angrily, "Qin Haodong, you must teach these guys a lesson. Otherwise, don't call yourself a man in the future." Qin Haodong smiled. These guys still had a little arrogance. Ji Ningquan had reached the 9th level of overt power, while the other 3 were all at the 8th level of overt power. This kind of cultivation was not worth mentioning in the martial arts world of Wuxia, but he was already a master in the university campus. Facing the boiling people around him, Ji Ningquan said disdainfully again, "Cowardly Wuxia people, I have already issued a challenge. If you have the ability, come to the Taekwondo club." After that, he was about to leave with the other 3 people. At this time, a tall and strong male student rushed up and said, "There's no need to wait for the afternoon. I'll teach you guys a lesson now." After that, the male student waved his huge fist and smashed it hard at Ji Ningquan's face. However, he was just a little stronger. He had never practiced martial arts at all. How could he be a match for Ji Ningquan and the others? "You're overestimating yourself." Ji Ningquan gently raised his leg and kicked the male student in the lower abdomen with a beautiful forward kick, directly kicking him out. Fortunately, this person was lucky. The direction in which he flew happened to be Qin Haodong's side. Qin Haodong reached out and picked up the male student. At the same time, he used greenwood genuine qi to help him unblock the injured meridians. It had to be said that Ji Ningquan's performance was very beautiful. He shocked the excited people. Although they were angry, they were all ordinary students. In terms of combat effectiveness, they were too weak. Ji Ningquan looked around and said, "Wuxia people, let me tell you, this is a fight. It's shameful. If you have the ability, come to the Taekwondo club to challenge us." After that, he left arrogantly with the other 3 people. Li Meiyu said to Qin Haodong angrily, "These guys are so arrogant. Why don't you teach them a lesson?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "They have already drawn a line. There is no need for us to fight here or we will be looked down upon. Let's go to the Taekwondo club after school." Li Meiyu's anger subsided a little. "You must teach these Koreans a lesson. How dare they treat us as their personal property? Yeah, these people are too much. What do they take us for?" Even Su Hui, who had always been indifferent, was enraged by the shameless behavior of Ji Ningquan and the others. Qin Haodong said, "Don't worry. They're just a few arrogant guys. They can't do anything." Qi Wan'er said, "I'm just wondering why they chose the 4 of us. There are 2 beauties above Sister Wu Shuang. Why didn't they choose them? Do these people think that us sisters are more beautiful?" Hearing this, Li Meiyu immediately extinguished her anger and said, "I guess it must be so. Why are we ranked last? I don't believe those 2 women are as beautiful as the heavens." Qin Haodong was speechless. This woman's way of thinking was really different. At this time, she actually thought of comparing beauty. They walked into the cafeteria to eat. However, the storm just started and then it became more and more intense. All the men in the school knew about the challenge issued by Ji Ningquan and the others. When the bell rang for the last class in the afternoon, many people rushed to the Taekwondo club. This club was very large. It was used for the school's Taekwondo classes. Occasionally, related competitions would be held. There were nearly 1,000 seats around, which could accommodate 1,000 spectators. It was already a large venue in the school. When Qin Haodong and the others arrived, the venue was already full of people. The auditorium was full and there were no empty seats. In the middle of the arena, 2 people were fighting. One was wearing a snow-white Taekwondo suit, and the other was wearing a golden traditional Wuxia martial arts suit. The one wearing the Taekwondo suit was Li Shanzhen, the vice president of the Taekwondo club, and the other was a student of the Wuxia martial arts club. Li Shanzhen had reached the level of 8 points of overt power, while the student of the martial arts club could barely reach the 3rd level of overt power. The gap between the 2 was obvious. After a few moves, the student of the martial arts club was kicked out of the arena by Li Shanzhen. After winning, he did not immediately withdraw his right leg. Instead, he made a dazzling pose on the stage and then slowly withdrew his leg. He looked at the audience with a proud face and said, "If you are only at this level, don't come up and make a fool of yourself. The so-called Wuxia martial arts are no match for our Taekwondo at all. President, these guys are too arrogant. Let me go up, President, I'll fight with these guys today. Some students in golden martial arts suits gathered around Zhou Tao, the president of the martial arts club. Zhou Tao looked dignified. So far, their martial arts club had lost 6 games in a row. These guys were unexpectedly powerful. Lao San, you go up and have a try. He raised his hand and pointed to a student of the martial arts club. This person's cultivation was obviously higher than others. He had reached the 5th level of overt power. Lao San agreed, turned around and jumped into the arena. On the Taekwondo club's side, Li Shangzhen still accepted the challenge. Soon the two of them began to fight. Li Shangzhen's figure flashed and appeared in front of Lao San. Before Lao San could react, he had been punched in the chest and flew out of the arena. They are no match for them at all. Qin Haodong shook his head. Originally, he had hoped that someone on the campus could defeat these 3 guys so that he would have less trouble. Now it seemed impossible. Although these students of the martial arts club also had some martial arts foundation, they were far from Qin Haodong's level. Moreover, judging from Li Shangzhen's performance, his moves were skillful and ruthless. He had rich combat experience. Even Zhou Tao, who was at the same level as him, would not be a match for him, let alone Kim Yankwon, who was at the 9th level of overt power. In a word, the strength of the two sides was not at the same level at all. Except for the members of the martial arts club, the others were even worse. They didn't even have any martial arts foundation. Ji Fubao said, "Boss, make your move. Otherwise it will be a great blow to our morale." After Lao San was knocked out of the arena, the originally noisy clubhouse became solemn. This was the 7th defeat of the Wuxia side, which had indeed caused a great psychological blow to these students. Let's go and have a look. Knowing that these people were no match for him, Qin Haodong took his people to Zhou Tao. But before he took a few steps, a figure suddenly stood in front of him. It was a female student in her 20s. When Qin Haodong saw her, 2 words immediately popped up in his mind. Sexy. That's right, sexy. Among the girls he knew, there was no lack of good-looking girls with good figures, but there was no one who could reach this level of sexiness. Hu Shaoxian was charming and enchanting, but in terms of sexiness she was still a little worse than the girl in front of him. The woman in front of him had a towering chest that reached an exaggerated 36D, and her waist was fat. The most important thing was that she exuded a kind of sexiness from her bones, with a different kind of exotic charm. "What can I do for you?" Qin Haodong asked. "You're Qin Haodong, right? I'm here for you." The woman's voice was very pleasant to listen to, and there was a hint of sexiness in her flirtatious voice. "Who are you? Do I know you?" The woman said, "This is the first time we've met, but you should have heard of my name, Li Jiamei." Ji Fubao swallowed and said, "You're the second sexy campus belle. You really deserve your reputation." When Li Meiyu heard that this was the second campus belle above her, she couldn't help curling her lips and whispering, "Fox." Her voice was not loud, but it was still heard by Li Jiamei. "Little sister, you're right. I'm a fox and I'm very good at seducing men. Keep an eye on your man, or he will be seduced by me." Li Meiyu said angrily, "You are shameless." "Why should I be shameless? I want a man." Li Jiamei said, "The handsome guy in front of me is not bad. I like him very much. Tell me, what can I do for you?" Qin Haodong had already seen that Li Jiamei was not simple. Although she looked extremely sexy and her words were coquettish, it was all an illusion. In fact, this woman was still a virgin. What's more, her cultivation had reached the 1st level of covert power. She was a real warrior. Li Jiamei turned around, looked at Qin Haodong and said, "I want to ask you for a favor." "Tell me about it." Li Jiamei glanced at Jin Ingquan and said resentfully, "After you deal with these arrogant and ignorant guys, help me ask them why they didn't choose me. I'm the second campus belle, second only to Feng Wu. Am I not beautiful?" As she spoke, she also puffed out her chest at Qin Haodong, showing her beautiful figure. Qin Haodong looked helpless. Women really looked at things from a different perspective. "Are you sure I can beat those guys? You've seen it. They are very powerful." Li Jiamei said coquettishly, "I have a feeling that you are more powerful." Then she winked at Qin Haodong again. "As long as you help me with this, I can consider going on a date with you." After that, she turned around and left, leaving a string of silver bell-like laughter. "Bitch. Shameless." Li Meiyu spat at her back and turned back to Qin Haodong and said, "I tell you, you can't help this bitch. You are not allowed to date her." Qi Weiner said, "I think it's a good idea. You should ask those guys. Maybe it's because they think we are more beautiful than those two. In that case you are allowed to ask them, but you are not allowed to date that bitch." Li Meiyu felt that what Qi Weiner said made sense, so she quickly changed her position. Qin Haodong shook his head and stepped toward Zhou Tao. Zhou Tao's face was gloomy. He had lost 7 games in a row. He was considering whether he should fight in person, but then he saw Qin Haodong coming over. "Boss, you're here." Under many surprised eyes, Zhou Tao immediately greeted him and bowed to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Why do you want to fight with those guys? These guys dared to hit on your woman. It's obviously disrespectful to you. Of course I have to teach them a lesson." Speaking of this, Zhou Tao's face showed a trace of embarrassment. "It's a pity that we haven't won a single game. We've lost 7 games in a row. We've embarrassed you." Qin Haodong was very satisfied with Zhou Tao's attitude. He said, "Don't worry. It's not over yet. We'll win it back." Chapter 527. You Huaxia people still want to win? You're dreaming. With the arrogant voice, Jin Yingquan came over with Qishuan and Pu Zaixiang. Jin Yingquan said proudly, "Huaxia people, you can't win. Admit defeat as soon as possible." Zhou Tao said angrily, "You guys want to challenge our Huaxia people? You're dreaming." And Qishuan said, "Do you Huaxia people only rely on words? Don't you see how many times you've lost? It doesn't matter how many times you lose. As long as my boss is here, you will never win." If Zhou Tao was not sure of winning before, Qin Haodong was full of confidence after his arrival. With such a supreme power expert, they would not lose in any case. Jin Yingquan looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Qin Haodong, right? I've heard of you. You have a little ability. You've beaten a few hooligans. The school has also given you a commendation, but you are definitely no match for us. We are Taekwondo masters. Those hooligans can't compare with us. You'd better not lose face as soon as possible." Qin Haodong smiled slightly and said, "We haven't fought yet. How do you know?" Jin Yingquan frowned and said, "Since you're not convinced, let's have a fight on the stage." Qin Haodong said, "We can have a fight, but we can't fight like this for nothing. We have to make some bets." "It's not necessary. We can't lose. Don't be so confident, okay? It's a normal fight. There will be winners and losers. No one will always win." Qin Haodong didn't want to play with these little guys. If they wanted to fight with him, there had to be a prize. Pu Zaixiang said, "What do you want to bet? Since you Taekwondo people look down on our Huaxia martial arts, let's make a big bet. If you lose, you'll disband the Taekwondo club and clean the Huaxia martial arts community every day. If we lose, we'll disband the Huaxia martial arts club immediately and clean the Taekwondo club every day." This is not a bet. It's an insult. After listening to him, Piao Zaixiang's face immediately changed. They were masters of Taekwondo. How could they clean up? Qin Haodong smiled and said, "In fact, it doesn't matter what the bet is. The key is whether you have the confidence to win. If you are sure that you can win, any bet has nothing to do with you. Didn't you just say that you won't lose? Why are you afraid now?" Ji Fubao then said, "In fact, you don't have to be shy. It's normal to be afraid of losing. It's not shameful to lose to our boss. Everyone will understand you." After saying that, he, Tian Buoguang, and the others immediately smirked. Jin Yingxuan's expression immediately changed. How could he, who had always been proud and arrogant, stand this insult? Who said that we are afraid of losing? But can you be the leader of the martial arts club? Before Qin Haodong could speak, Zhou Tao said, "Of course he can. I'm the president of the martial arts club and he's my boss. His words can represent our martial arts club." As he spoke, his eyes flashed with excitement. Who was Qin Haodong? He was a grand master of Wudao. They could only win this bet. He even felt that he was being bullied, but the feeling of being bullied was quite good. "Well, I'll bet with you. As long as you can beat the 3 of us, we'll go to the Huaxia Martial Arts Club to clean up and disband the Taekwondo Club. The bet is set, but I'm not the one who will do it." Qin Haodong looked at Jin Yingquan and said, "You are just a few small fish and shrimp. It's not worth my time." Jin Yingquan said in a cold voice, "What do you mean? Are you kidding us?" "Kidding you? You're not monkeys. I'm not in the mood." Qin Haodong pointed to the injured martial arts club members next to him and said, "There's an old saying in Huaxia, get up from where you fall. I'll casually instruct these students and let them compete with you." Hearing what he said, Zhou Tao, who was next to him, suddenly became nervous and said in a low voice, "Boss, will this work?" These people had been defeated just now. Their skills were too inferior to the opponents, and now their morale was completely gone. Even if Qin Haodong was a grand master, he couldn't let them win in such a short time. "Don't worry, I'm here." Seeing that Qin Haodong was full of confidence, Zhou Tao shut up. Jin Yingquan said, Qin, you have to think about our competition. If there is a bet, we will win 2 out of 3 rounds. No matter who you send, it will be counted as 1 round. Of course, as long as the person we send loses, you will win 1 round. Qin Haodong turned around and looked at the 7 defeated students. Who would like to have a try? Just as Zhou Tao thought, these 7 people had lost their spirit after being defeated. How could they have the courage to fight again? Just now, they thought that the boss of their president just wanted to annoy these guys, but they didn't expect that he would do it for real. They couldn't help but lower their heads and didn't dare to look at Qin Haodong's eyes. Seeing this scene, Jin Yingquan couldn't help sneering on the stage. If Qin Haodong fought in person, he would treat him cautiously. If he sent these students who had just been defeated to fight, it was simply asking to be humiliated. You guys have just been beaten. Don't you want to take revenge? Qin Haodong waved to a student closest to him and said, "It's you. I'll teach you a fist technique. Go up and fight with them again. I'm sure you can take revenge." Meh. Seeing that he was chosen, the student was shocked and hurriedly said, "Boss, I'm really no match for him. I can't even take 1 move from him." When he just got on the stage, he was kicked off the stage by Li Shanzhen before he could even use his moves. There was such a big gap between the 2 sides. If he fought again, he would lose. "What's your name?" Qin Haodong asked. "Li Wanyong." "That's a good name. You're the most suitable person to fight." Qin Haodong said, "Don't worry. As long as I give you some advice, I'm sure he can't even take 1 move from you." "Boss, are you kidding?" If he hadn't seen Zhou Tao being respectful to this young man, Li Wanyong would have thought that he had met a swindler. What a joke. How could it be so easy to learn kung fu? Did he think it was the Buddha's palm? Zhou Tao raised his hand and slapped him on the back of the head, saying, "How can you talk to my boss like that? Do what I tell you to do." Out of trust in Zhou Tao, Li Wanyong braced himself and said, "Well, I'll learn." At this time, his idea was that it was no big deal. At most, he would be beaten down again. Qin Haodong nodded with satisfaction and said, "Watch carefully. Just fight like this." After that, he slowly punched out. Seeing his fist technique, the onlookers were all dumbfounded. He punched straight ahead. How could this be called a fist technique? Even an ordinary child's fist technique was like this, wasn't it? Jin Yingquan and the others on the stage also saw all this clearly. They were so angry that their noses were almost crooked. He casually found a loser to fight on the stage and taught him such a simple fist technique. Wasn't it a joke? Qin Haodong didn't seem to notice the laughter around him. He raised his hand and patted Li Wanyong on the shoulder, saying, "Remember, this fist technique is called Tyrant Fist. When you make a move, you must go forward without any hesitation." Hearing his words, Li Wanyong had the urge to cry. "Brother, do you want to kill me? How can this fist technique be called Tyrant Fist? And go forward with indomitable will? Just tell me to rush up and be beaten by my opponent." But at this moment, a huge force suddenly filled his body, giving him an impulse to overturn the arena. What's going on? How did I suddenly become so powerful? Before he could figure it out, Qin Haodong pushed him onto the arena and said, "Go ahead, just do as I say." He had just added a King Kong talisman to Li Wanyong's body, and at the same time left a trace of green with genuine qi. In terms of strength, he could definitely kill the 3 of them in seconds. Li Wanyong walked onto the arena for the second time. Qin Haodong shouted from behind, "Just do as I taught you. Use Tyrant Fist to defeat them." Jin Yingquan and the others were about to explode with anger. "You want to defeat us brothers with such a weak fist technique? Isn't this a humiliation?" Piao Zaixiang stopped Li Shanzhen, who was about to enter the arena, and said, "Brother, you've been tired for a long time. I'll fight this round." After that, he strode to Li Wanyong and shouted, "Boy, make your move." At this time, he wanted to punch Li Wanyong out of the arena and slap Qin Haodong's face hard to vent his anger. "Damn you, go to hell." Li Wanyong shouted and raised his hand to punch Piao Zaixiang. That was the Tyrant Fist that Qin Haodong had just taught him. Looking at the fist that was not fast, everyone's heart was in their throat. Could this fist technique work? Piao Zaixiang showed a ruthless look at the corner of his mouth. He raised his hand and punched with all his strength. Fist against fist, he wanted to let his opponent have a good look at what a real fist technique was. It was not a casual punch that could be called a domineering fist. Seeing all this, Qin Haodong laughed. In terms of strength, Li Wanyong, who had the blessing of the King Kong talisman, had an absolute advantage. What he was afraid of was that his opponent would adopt evasive tactics. Everything he had done off the stage just now was to arouse his opponent's anger. Now it seemed that his provocation had succeeded. Li Wanyong would definitely lose if he fought with Li Wanyong. Compared with Li Wanyong's light punch, Piao Zaixiang's punch looked powerful and powerful. It hit hard with a whistling sound in the air. But when the two fists collided, he felt as if he had punched a mountain, or rather, a train heading towards him. What's going on? How could he have such great power? When Li Shanzhen defeated Li Wanyong just now, he saw clearly that Li Wanyong's cultivation was low and his skills were poor. He could not be compared with him at all. How could he have such a strong fist force now? However, he no longer had the chance to understand this question. After the two fists collided, his entire body was like a cannonball that was shot out. He suddenly flew out and directly fell into the ring. I won? I really won. In the ring, Li Wanyong looked at his fist and couldn't believe it. He had really defeated his opponent with one punch. It was so powerful and domineering. And the man who gave him all this was the man who looked younger than him in the audience. When he came to his senses, he ran down the ring and went straight to Qin Haodong. He said sincerely, "Boss, please accept me as your disciple. I want to worship you as my master." But as soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Tao hit him on the back of his head. "Get out of here. How can the boss accept you as his disciple?" He had called Qin Haodong Grandmaster yesterday. If this guy worshipped Qin Haodong as his master, then he would be a generation younger than him. Through this scene just now, he had already admired Qin Haodong to the extreme. With a casual instruction, he could make the weak Li Wanyong defeat the powerful Piao Zaixiang. This was definitely not something that ordinary people could do. Qin Haodong said to Li Wanyong with dissatisfaction, "I just told you to go forward with indomitable will. You didn't understand what I said at all. Otherwise, this punch would at least make your opponent vomit blood." Chapter 528. On the other side of the arena, Piao Zaixiang, who was extremely aggrieved, had just gotten up from the ground. When he heard Qin Haodong's words, he spat out a mouthful of blood. He didn't spit blood because he was beaten but because he was so angry. Seeing this scene, Qin Haodong patted Li Wanyong on the shoulder and said, "Okay, I didn't say anything." At this time, the surrounding audience came to their senses. They didn't expect that the Wuxia Martial Arts Club, which had been defeated again and again, would finally win a game. Suddenly, tsunami-like cheers resounded throughout the Taekwondo club. Everyone was cheering for one person. Everyone had clearly seen the scene just now. It was Qin Haodong's casual guidance that made Li Wanyong feel as if he had the help of God. He punched Piao Zaixiang and sent him flying. The cheers gradually dissipated, and the score on the field became 1:00. The Wuxia Martial Arts Club had a good start. Seeing that the opponent who had been abused by him had turned the tables, Li Shanzhen said, "President, let me fight in the next game. I have experience with them." "Well, you fight in the second game." Jin Yingquan agreed to let Li Shanzhen fight, but he still warned him, "I think this is a bit strange. We must be careful." And did you notice that what Qin Haodong did just now was to let Piao Zaixiang fight with his people? In Wuxia this is called goading. You must change your fighting style in this game. Focus on dodging and find an opportunity to kill with one blow. Don't fight recklessly. "I see, President." After Li Shanzhen finished speaking, he walked to the arena confidently. He had just defeated 7 members of the Wuxia Martial Arts Club alone, so he believed that he could do the same next time. Since the other side had already sent someone to fight, Qin Haodong glanced at the members of the martial arts club and asked, "Who will fight in this game? Does anyone want to take revenge?" "Boss, let me do it." A tall young man stood up. His name was Chao Yang and he had big panda eyes. In the previous game he was beaten down by Li Shanzhen with one punch, so he was full of anger. The reason why he dared to take the initiative to stand up was that Qin Haodong's guidance gave him confidence. Li Wanyong's strength was not as good as his. He defeated Piao Zaixiang with just one move. Therefore, in his opinion, the boss in front of him had the power to turn something rotten into something magical and would definitely help him take revenge. "Not bad, your courage is commendable." Qin Haodong whispered a few words in Chao Yang's ear, and then patted him on the shoulder. "Go up, you can do it." The onlookers were stunned again. Just now, they had at least taught him a punch, but now it was so simple that they didn't even need to do this. Could it really work? Li Shanzhen was an expert who had won 7 matches in a row. Chao Yang felt the blessing of the King Kong talisman and immediately walked into the ring confidently. He pointed at Li Shanzhen and shouted, "Shameless guy, come here. I'm going to teach you a lesson now." Li Shanzhen smiled coldly. "Are you trying to goad me into action? No way, I won't fall for it." He said, "Loser, make your move. Watch my fist." Chao Yang shouted and punched at Li Shanzhen's face. This scene was very similar to the previous one, but Li Shanzhen did not choose to fight recklessly. He took a step sideways with his left foot, ready to dodge Chao Yang's move. But he never expected that Chao Yang's fist was a feint. He took it back halfway and then kicked at Qin Haodong's left side. This kick seemed to have been calculated in advance. Almost as soon as Li Shanzhen moved, it was kicked out, and the two reached the same position almost at the same time. That was to say, in the eyes of others, Chao Yang kicked in the air and Li Shanzhen was kicked by him. When Li Shanzhen realized this, his body had completely lost its center of gravity, and it was impossible to change direction. In a hurry, he raised his right fist and punched hard at Chao Yang's foot. It turned out that a small arm was no match for a big leg. Chao Yang had been blessed by the King Kong talisman, so this kick was extremely powerful. It was impossible for Qin Haodong's small fist to resist it. The fist and the palm collided. With a bang, Li Shang'an's fist was kicked back. The remaining force of the kick was not dissipated, and then a big footprint was left on his face. Li Shanzhen was kicked into the air and fell off the ring with a plop. Seeing that Chao Yang, who had no power to fight back just now, beat Li Shanzhen like a dog in the blink of an eye, everyone was shocked. What was going on? Who was this young man? Was he an immortal? How could Chao Yang turn defeat into victory just by saying a few words? Li Shanzhen got up from the ground. His cheek was swollen, and there was a footprint of half of the sole of his foot on it, which made him ashamed and angry. He was so aggrieved that he was defeated. It seemed that Qin Haodong had already figured out everything about him. First, he deceived him with a feint, and then he kicked out, knowing that he would dodge to the left. How could it be possible? If he was willing to ask for advice humbly, Chao Yang would definitely give him a satisfactory answer. Because at the moment before the kick, Qin Haodong told him to kick to the left, so he hit the target. Qin Haodong won the second round by secret voice sending. When Chao Yang walked off the stage, the whole audience cheered. According to the previous agreement, 2 out of 3 games would be the best of 3, which meant that Wuxia martial arts had already won this round of gambling. Qin Haodong said to Jin Yingquan, "You lost. Fulfill the bet." Jin Yingquan's expression changed slightly, and then he said, "Who said we lost? We agreed to win 3 out of 5 games. Now there are still 3 games to be played." Seeing that this guy was acting shamelessly, Ji Fubao jumped up immediately and shouted, "F***ck, I've lived for so many years, but it's the first time I've seen someone so shameless and righteous." Tian Buguang also shouted, "I've seen shameless people, but I've never seen such a shameless person. Can't you be more shameless?" Shouts and curses rang out from the surroundings. "Shameless guy, get out. You've already lost. You just said 2 out of 3 games, not 3 out of 5. You untrustworthy guy, get out of the medical college, get out of Wuxia." Qin Haodong had long heard that the people of Koryo were shameless, but he didn't expect them to be shameless to this extent. No wonder Jin Yingquan, as the president, didn't appear in the second round. It turned out that this guy had already been prepared to deny it. A sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Since you want to fight, I'll fight with you." Jin Yingquan didn't seem to feel anything about all this. He walked up to the arena and said to Qin Haodong, "If you have the ability, come up and fight with me." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "You don't deserve to be my opponent." He turned around and said to the students of the martial arts club, "Who will fight this round?" I'll do it, it's my turn now." "Why should it be you?" "It should be me, give it to me. I lost the most in the last round. You're not as miserable as me. You were just kicked in the butt, but I vomited blood. I'm the one who is miserable, so give me the chance." "What's the point of vomiting blood? You just lost a tooth, but I have internal injuries." A scene that made people not know whether to laugh or cry appeared. The students, who had completely lost their courage before, were all filled with righteous indignation at this time. They all wanted to go up and fight with Jin Yingquan. Although they knew very well that the person in front of them was the president of the Taekwondo club, what could they do? As long as their boss gave them a few pointers, they could beat anyone in one move. It was because of this idea that they were fighting with each other. Just think about it, they could learn skills and take revenge. Who would want to let go of such a good opportunity? On the stage, Jin Yingquan's face turned green. What's going on? Could it be that I'm an idiot and anyone can beat me just like that? And what the hell is worse? The more miserable your defeat was, the weaker you are. You've been beaten like this, but you still want to rush to the stage. Don't you take me seriously? At the same time, he also felt great pressure. When these people rushed to the stage, it also showed that Qin Haodong's direction was terrible. He secretly gritted his teeth. He couldn't lose this game again. If he lost again, he would really have to go to the martial arts community to clean up. Just as he was thinking about it, Qin Haodong had already chosen an opponent for him. It was a guy who had been beaten black and blue. His mouth and eyes were a little crooked, and there was still blood at the corner of his mouth. As the opponent walked onto the stage, Jin Yingquan on the stage and Qishuan, Piao Zaixiang and Li Shanzhen were all stunned. In their impression, no one in the martial arts club had been injured so badly. Where did this injury come from? Could it be that in order to compete, he beat himself up like this? It must be like this. Jin Yingquan instantly confirmed his idea. This guy deliberately beat himself up like this in order to compete with me. Otherwise, it would be impossible to explain his injuries. At this time, the most miserable opponent said to him, "I'm Baikan. Please enlighten me." Baikan? More miserable? Jin Yingquan really wanted to ask, "Who gave you such a wicked name? Come on, boy. I'll make you more miserable." Jin Yingquan said as he put on the starting gesture of Taekwondo, and then punched Baikan in the face. After learning from the experience of the previous two failures, he wanted to try to take the initiative to attack and see how the other party would deal with it. He deserved to be the president of the Taekwondo club. His attack was fast and ruthless. In the blink of an eye, his fist had already arrived in front of Baikan. To everyone's surprise, Baikan didn't block it. Then he also punched Jin Yingquan in the face. "What the F***ck, how can you do this?" Jin Yingquan didn't expect that the other party would use this kind of fighting method to hurt both sides. If he didn't take back his fist, even if he hit Baikan, he would also be hit. With the powerful strength that Li Wanyong and Chao Yang had just shown, he was afraid that he would be more seriously injured. Seeing Baikan's resolute eyes, Jin Yingquan was afraid and quickly withdrew his fist. No wonder Qin Haodong chose Baikan. This guy was really ruthless. He could even be so cruel to himself. What else couldn't he do? He retreated, but Baikan didn't stop at all. He continued to punch him in the face. It was still a fighting method that would hurt both sides. Jin Yingquan dodged and continued to fight. He didn't care about Jin Yingquan's counterattack. He still fought. In this way, Jin Yingquan's cultivation was at the 9th level of overt power, but he was suppressed by Baikan. He kept dodging on the arena and couldn't complete a decent attack at all. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong would design such an offensive tactic for Baikan. Although it was very rogue, it was very practical. Compared with Baikan's strength, if he didn't want to be hit by the other party's fighting method, it was really difficult for him to launch an effective attack. After fighting for more than a dozen rounds, Jin Yingquan was still retreating. There was a lot of ridicule and noise under the stage. What a disgraceful guy. If you can't do it, come down. Don't walk around the stage and embarrass yourself. You don't even have the courage to fight. Why are you still fighting? When I saw the beginning, I had already guessed the result. This guy is too bad. Damn it, it's too depressing. I'll fight with you. What can you do? Jin Yingquan finally couldn't bear the grievance in his heart. He stopped dodging and suddenly gave a powerful side kick to Baikan's chest. Chapter 529. In the face of Kim Yangquan's kick, Baikan kicked him in the chest with the same routine and the same method. However, this time Jin Yingquan did not choose to dodge. Instead, he increased the strength of his foot and kicked Baikan hard in the chest. At the same time, he was also kicked in the chest. Bang bang, two dull sounds sounded almost at the same time. Baikan only took 2 or 3 steps back. With the help of the King Kong talisman, his body was as hard as iron, and his ability to resist attacks was naturally much stronger. Jin Yingquan felt that he had kicked an iron plate, and then his whole body flew out like a cannonball. He hit the guardrail of the boxing ring with a bang and bounced back and fell to the ground. Before he could get up from the ground, Baikan had already come to him. He rode on him like a gangster fighting, and his fists fell like raindrops. Bang bang bang. The sound of fists hitting flesh resounded throughout the hall. Who asked you to kick me? Who asked you to come to Wuxia to show off? Who asked you to snatch everything? Baikan muttered to himself as he played to his heart's content. Jin Yingquan originally wanted to resist with all his strength, but when his moves fell on Baikan's body, it was as if he had hit an iron plate. It was of no use at all. He wanted to take back his hands to protect his head, but under Baikan's heavy punches, how could he protect it? In the blink of an eye, he was beaten like a pig. He wanted to admit defeat, but he couldn't open his mouth at all. At this time, the thing that Jin Yingquan regretted most was that he didn't prepare a referee before the game. Now he couldn't admit defeat even if he wanted to. He could only let Baikan fight to his heart's content. Not long after, he felt dizzy from the beating and he felt like he was about to die. At this moment, an angel-like voice sounded in his ear. Okay, stop fighting. Qin Haodong went to the ring and raised his hand to stop Baikan. Then he squatted down and looked at Jin Yingquan, whose head was like a pig's, and asked, "How about it? Do you admit defeat?" This guy had just turned the best of 3 games into the best of 5 games. If he was let go now, he might make the best of 6 games out of 10, so he had to make sure first. Thinking that if he admitted defeat, he would have to clean up the Wuxia martial arts club in the future and disband the taekwondo club that he had painstakingly run, Jin Ingquan didn't say it in the end. Since you don't admit defeat, the game is not over yet. Qin Haodong waved his hand to Bai Kan go on. Bai Kan was really fast. In the blink of an eye, 3 or 4 punches landed on Jin Ingquan's face. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Jin Ingquan didn't know when he would be beaten if he didn't admit defeat, so he could only say the word admit defeat in humiliation. Hearing that the Korean finally admitted defeat, the audience immediately cheered and applauded. In Qishuan, Piao Zaixiang and Li Shanzhen were pale. They had lost this challenge and they had lost completely and aggrieved. The taekwondo that they had practiced for so many years was like a child's game in front of this young man from Wuxia. They were easily suppressed to the point that they couldn't even lift their heads. Are you really admitting defeat? Are you sure you won't regret it? I'm sure I admit defeat. I won't regret it. When I go back, I will disband the taekwondo club and go to the Wuxia martial arts club tomorrow to clean up. Jin Ingquan glanced at Bai Kan, who was still riding on him. This guy's eyes were shining with excitement, as if he was waiting for him to regret it. Good attitude. Since you are sure to admit defeat, I announce the end of the game. After Qin Haodong finished speaking, he waved his hand and let Bai Kan stand up from Jin Ingquan. Jin Ingquan stood up in embarrassment and felt that all the bones in his body were about to break. He turned his head and was about to walk down the ring, but he heard Qin Haodong say, "Wait a minute, I still have something to ask you." He was so scared that he trembled all over and asked nervously, "What else?" Qin Haodong said, "Why did you choose the 4 female students of our Chinese medicine class this time? There are 2 other campus belles in our school. Why didn't you choose them?" This question was asked by Li Jiumei, and at the same time, it was also a question in many people's hearts. The scene immediately quieted down, and everyone was waiting for Jin Ingquan's answer. Seeing this question, Jin Ingquan breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Because in the eyes of our people, Feng Wu who ranks first is too boring, and the second campus belles are not to our taste. The 4 female students in your class are more beautiful." After he said this, Nailan Wushuang, Li Meiyu and the others immediately smiled. Although they hated Koreans and didn't take Jin Ingquan seriously, they still liked to praise him. This proved in a disguised way that the list of campus belles was not authoritative, and their beauty was not inferior to that of the first 2 campus belles. Some were happy and some were sad. Some were happy and some were angry. As soon as Jin Ingquan finished speaking, he saw a slim figure rushing to the ring and kicking him to the ground. Then she took off the high-heeled shoes on her feet and hit him like raindrops, regardless of where his head and butt were. "You said that I'm not beautiful, and you said that I don't have a taste. I'll beat you blind guys to death." It was Li Jiumei who was standing under the stage waiting for the answer. Obviously, she was extremely dissatisfied with Jin Ingquan's answer. She was not very happy when she was ranked second among the campus belles. Who knew that these guys dared to belittle her appearance? It turned out that the lethality of the high-heeled shoes was no less than that of Bai Kan's fist. Soon Jin Ingquan rolled all over the ground and screamed. Poor Jin Ingquan. Until now he still didn't understand where this unexpected disaster came from. Fortunately at this time, An Qishuan rushed to the ring and saved him. "Blind guys, don't let me see you in the future, or I'll beat you every time I see you." After that, Li Jiumei put on the high-heeled shoes. When she turned her head, the angry expression on her face immediately changed 360 degrees. She said to Qin Haodong in a sweet voice, "Handsome boy, I didn't misjudge you. You do have some skills. Thank you for asking this question for me. These bastards have no taste, but I still want to thank you. Well, I'll give you a chance to go on a date. After school tomorrow, let's meet at the top of Gentleman Mountain." Feeling the murderous eyes of the girls under the stage, Qin Haodong quickly said, "Sister, forget it. I'm very busy." "Handsome boy, are you refusing me?" Li Jiumei said as she swayed her sexy body to Qin Haodong. First, she straightened her towering chest, and then licked her delicate red lips. "Handsome boy, do you know how many men in our school want to go on a date with me? This opportunity is very rare. If you can satisfy me, I may go to bed with you." Qin Haodong was embarrassed. He was flirted with by this sexy woman in public. For a moment he didn't know what to say. "Handsome boy, I'll tell you a secret. I never use my teeth to eat bananas." Li Jiumei hugged Qin Haodong's shoulder and breathed into his ear. "That's a deal. Let's meet at 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon." After that, she giggled and turned to jump out of the ring. "Vixen, you shameless vixen." Under the ring, Li Meiyu gritted her teeth angrily. Qi Wan comforted her. "Meiyu, don't be angry. Haodong won't go." Li Meiyu said angrily, "How do you know? I think his soul has already been taken away by this seductress." Qin Haodong just walked out of the ring and said with a smile, "No, I'm still here." Li Meiyu said, "I'm telling you, you can't go tomorrow night or I'll. After thinking for a long time, she really couldn't think of anything that could threaten Qin Haodong. She could only say, "I'll ask my sisters to ignore you." Qin Haodong said, "Okay, I won't go." From the bottom of his heart, he really didn't want to go to Li Jiumei's date. Ji Fubao cried, "Boss, this is the second sexy campus belle. It's such a waste that you don't even want to go to her date. Give her to me." Tian Buguang said, "We want to go, but the sexy campus belle doesn't like us. You can go if you want." "Anyway, I won't go," Qin Haodong said righteously. At this time, Su Hui, who had been silent for a long time, spoke. She asked, "Li Jiumei said that she doesn't use her teeth to eat bananas. What does that mean?" Others might not understand, but how could Ji Fubao and Tian Buguang, who claimed to have read all the pornographic films in the world, not know? Seeing Su Hui ask such a question with an extremely serious expression, they could no longer control themselves and laughed out loud. This time Su Hui felt even more puzzled. She took Li Meiyu's hand and asked, "Meiyu, do you know why she doesn't use her teeth to eat bananas? How can she eat it without her teeth?" Li Meiyu, who grew up in Hong Kong, naturally knew a little more about this kind of thing. However, it was not appropriate for her to explain in public. She could only falter and say, "Well, maybe the bananas are too ripe or her teeth are not good." Originally she wanted to deal with it, but Su Hui became more and more persistent. She asked, "But I think her teeth are very good." "Even if her teeth are not good, what does it have to do with Brother Haodong if she doesn't use her teeth to eat bananas? Why does it seem that Brother Haodong will be willing to go on a date with her? Does Brother Haodong also like bananas?" Her words shocked everyone. Ji Fubao and Tian Buguang laughed so hard that they almost rolled on the ground. Nailin Wushuang held back her laughter and said, "You'd better ask your Brother Haodong this kind of question in private. Only he can give you an answer." Su Hui asked in bewilderment, "Why do you have to do it in private? Eating bananas is not a private matter. Can't I ask him now?" Qi Wan said with a smile, "Because he has run away now." Su Hui turned her head and saw that Qin Haodong's figure had disappeared at the door of the Taekwondo club. As an old monster who had lived for more than 500 years, Qin Haodong naturally understood that the faster he ran, the better. Otherwise, it was easy to get himself into trouble. After the competition in the Taekwondo club, Qin Haodong's reputation in the medical college had been greatly improved and he had become the idol of thousands of girls. The next day, Ji Fubao immediately came up to Qin Haodong when he saw him. "Boss, the latest news is that you are now the head of the 4 male gods of the Shanghai Medical College." Tian Buguang said with an envious face, "Boss, if I had your ability, I would change my girlfriend every day." Ji Fubao came over with a smirk and asked, "Boss, today is Friday. The sexy campus belle will go on a date with you. Are you really not going?" Tian Buguang said, "It's a rare opportunity. Boss, I think you'd better go. The second campus belle is so sexy that people will drool when they see her." "Oh, who's drooling?" While they were talking, Li Meiyu and the other girls came over. Chapter 530. Ji Fubao quickly said, "It's okay, it's okay." Tian Buguang said that he didn't have breakfast in the morning. He was a little hungry and drooling. Yes, I'm hungry. I didn't have breakfast." Tian Buguang hurriedly nodded, but he burped a few times as he spoke. It was Ji Fubao's treat for breakfast. He ate 3 bowls of wontons and 4 big meat buns in a row. He was so full that he couldn't take it anymore. "You didn't have breakfast? I have 5 meat buns here. They were steamed by my grandma. Take them." It was the simple and kind Su Hui who spoke. She raised her hand and handed the food bag to Tian Buguang. She said warmly, "Eat it. It's still hot." Tian Buguang immediately felt like vomiting when he saw the buns. His stomach was already full, so how could he eat them? Ji Fubao said with a smirk, "Hurry up. The buns are delicious when they are hot." Su Hui said, "Yes, you're welcome." Tian Buguang had no choice but to pick up a bun, take a bite and swallow it with difficulty. He almost burst into tears. He was so full. Fortunately, the life-saving bell rang at this time. He quickly put away the bun. "It's time for class. I'll eat after class." The morning passed and it was time for lunch. Tian Buguang was still burping. He swore that he would never eat buns again. Qin Haodong led everyone to the canteen. He was a little worried at first for fear that someone would jump out to pursue the 4 campus belles around him. Fortunately, it was calm today. The canteen was in order and there were no pursuers. Li Meiyu kept a close eye on Qin Haodong when it was close to school. It seemed that she was afraid that he would go on a date with Li Jiumei. This sexy and beautiful opponent could bring great pressure to every woman. As soon as the bell rang, Qin Haodong suddenly received a call from Nalan Wuxia. "I'll give you half an hour to come to my office. Otherwise you'll have to bear the consequences." After that, she directly hung up the phone without giving him any time to react. He put away his phone. Although he didn't know what Nalan Wuxia was up to, he still had to go after she said so. It was not easy for him to convince Li Meiyu and the others that he was not going to the back mountain for a date, but to run some errands. Then he left the school gate and drove straight to the crime squad in Dongqing district. When he arrived at the captain's office, he saw Nalan Wuxia sitting there with a heavy face. "I'm here?" Qin Haodong sat opposite Nalan Wuxia, looked at her and said, "What's wrong, officer? Who made you unhappy?" Nalan Wuxia said with a sullen face, "What have you been doing these days? Why didn't you come to see me?" "I was busy with school, so I came as soon as you called." Qin Haodong took her hand and said with a smile, "If I'm late, what consequences do I have to bear?" Nalan Wuxia said angrily, "If you're late, I'll have sex with someone else and get you a hat." "Isn't this a bit too cruel?" Qin Haodong asked, "What's wrong? Hurry up and tell me." Nalan Wuxia did not speak. She took him directly to the window, looked at her watch, pointed to the door of the crime squad and said, "There's 1 minute left. You'll see it soon." Qin Haodong was curious, but Nalan Wuxia did not say anything, so he could only wait patiently. Just a minute later, a young man with flowers in his hand appeared in front of the crime squad. He somewhat understood and said to Nalan Wuxia, "Is he pursuing you?" Nalan Wuxia sighed and said, "His name is Chu Huayu, the young master of the Chu family in Shanghai. He has been here for 3 days in a row. Every day when I get off work at 5 o'clock, he waits for me here on time. He sends me flowers and invites me to dinner. It's really annoying. You must get rid of him for me today." Qin Haodong's heart was filled with an inexplicable anger. It was really troublesome to have so many girlfriends, especially the most beautiful ones. These pursuers really annoyed him. He had been dealing with this kind of thing for the past few days. "Don't worry, I'll teach this guy a lesson later." He had completely lost his patience and decided to teach this young master of the Chu family a lesson later. "Let's go out together." Nalan Wuxia took Qin Haodong's arm and walked out of the door together. She had repeatedly explained to Chu Huayu that she had a boyfriend in the past few days, but he did not listen no matter what. She had no choice but to call Qin Haodong over. Chu Huayu was wearing a famous brand suit and a famous watch. He was holding a bouquet of red roses, looking elegant and elegant. Seeing Nalan Wuxia coming out, he immediately greeted her, but his expression suddenly changed when he saw Qin Haodong next to her. However, it was only for a short moment. Soon, he recovered his elegant smile, handed the roses over and said, "Wuxia, these are for you." Seeing that this guy completely ignored him, Qin Haodong did not hesitate to grab the roses and throw them into the trash can next to him. He did not hesitate at all. Chu Huayu said angrily, "What are you doing?" Nalan Wuxia said, "Chu Huayu, how many times have I told you that I have a boyfriend? This is my boyfriend Qin Haodong. I hope you won't harass me in the future." Chu Huayu immediately changed to a sincere expression and said, "Wuxia, please don't reject me so cruelly, okay? I dare say that no one in this world loves you more than I do. Believe me, I will give you happiness. I have already made things clear to you. I will not accept you and I don't want to see you again in the future." After Nalan Wuxia finished speaking, she continued to walk forward with Qin Haodong. Chu Huayu shouted behind them, "Wuxia, I really like you. As long as you are not married, I will pursue you. I will never give up." Nalan Wuxia ignored him and went straight to the parking lot with Qin Haodong. After getting in the car, Qin Haodong said, "Something's wrong." Nalan Wuxia asked in surprise, "What's wrong?" "This guy is the young master of an aristocratic family. I threw away his flowers and was so intimate with you. Shouldn't he be furious and shout for the bodyguards to break my legs? Why isn't this guy angry at all?" He had been waiting for Chu Huayu to make a move. As long as this guy dared to take the initiative to provoke him, he would immediately beat him like a dog. Now that Chu Huayu was being polite, it made it difficult for him to make a move. "I don't care so much. Anyway, as long as the trouble is not resolved, you have to pick me up from work every day." Nalan Wuxia said, "Let's go eat first. There is a new northeastern restaurant not far away. The food is very good. Let's go there today. Qin Haodong started the car and drove forward. Seeing that they had left, Chu Huayu's face immediately became gloomy. He waved behind him and 5 bodyguards immediately ran over. Young master, what do you need us to do? Are you going to break his arm or his leg? The head bodyguard took the initiative to ask. As Chu Huayu's personal bodyguard, he was already familiar with this situation. Seeing that Nalan Wuxia had left with Qin Haodong, he knew that his insidious master would never give up. He would definitely teach that gigolo a lesson. Chu Huayu said, "You can't do that this time. Nalan Wuxia is also the captain of the crime squad. If you go too far, it will easily cause trouble." The head bodyguard said, "Young master, are we just going to let it go?" "Let it go? Of course not. No one can take away the woman that I, Chu Huayu, have taken a fancy to." A sinister smile appeared on Chu Huayu's handsome face and he said, "Go to a sex toy store now, buy these things and then..." The head bodyguard nodded repeatedly and said, "Got it, young master. Don't worry, I will do a good job this time. I guarantee that the guy will never be able to lift his head again." After that, he left with the 4 bodyguards behind him. Chu Huayu looked in the direction where Qin Haodong and the others had disappeared and said with a sinister expression, "Boy, how dare you steal my woman? You are still far from me." As night fell, Qin Haodong and Nalan Wuxia walked out of the door of the restaurant. Soon he felt that someone was following him and he couldn't help but smile. This guy's foxtail was finally revealed. If he kept pretending to be a gentleman, it would be really difficult for him to deal with it. It would be much easier this way. After shopping with Nalan Wuxia for a while, he sent her back to the single dormitory of the crime squad and drove out of the city. Shanghai was one of the most prosperous metropolises in Wuxia. Although it was already night, there were still a lot of people on the street. It was inconvenient to do many things, so he directly chose to go out of the city. Behind his car, 2 black Passats were following him, not too far away, and from time to time they would play a crossover. It had to be said that these guys were good at following him. If it weren't for his powerful spirit, ordinary people wouldn't have been able to find him. The head bodyguard and a bearded bodyguard were sitting in the same car. Seeing Qin Haodong go directly out of the city, the bearded bodyguard said, "Boss, what is this guy going to do?" The head bodyguard said, "Who cares? It will be convenient for us to take action when there are fewer people out of the city." Soon, Qin Haodong drove out of the urban area of Shanghai and came to a remote field. The bearded bodyguard asked doubtfully, "Boss, what is this guy going to do? He couldn't have discovered us, could he?" The head bodyguard said indifferently, "It doesn't matter if he finds us or not. This guy can't run away even if he wants to. There is no one around here, so it's convenient for us to take action." He had enough confidence that the 5 people on his side had undergone strict training. They were definitely not people that a gigolo could compete with. The other bodyguards also didn't think much of it. They had done this kind of thing many times, but it was the first time they had encountered someone who was so cooperative. He knew that someone was following him, but he still took the initiative to run to a place where even rabbits didn't shit. Wasn't he courting death? If you don't court death, you won't die. This sentence was very reasonable. Qin Haodong chose a hillside and parked the car. Then he got out of the car and stood beside the car, waiting for these people calmly. Soon, 2 Passats stopped behind him. 5 people got out of the car. One of them was carrying a big bag and the other was carrying a camera. This made Qin Haodong quite surprised. What were they doing? Shooting a movie or paparazzi? He looked at them and asked, "What are you doing? Did Chu Huayu ask you to come?" The head bodyguard said jokingly, "You guessed right. Young Master Chu asked us to come. He asked us to shoot a special film for you and then post it on the internet to make you popular." The bearded bodyguard put the big bag on the ground, opened the zipper and took out things one by one. There were candles, handcuffs, nurse uniforms and all kinds of weird things. He said with a sinister smile, "Kid, do you see this? These things were carefully prepared for you. They will be used later." Qin Haodong immediately understood Chu Huayu's intention. This guy was playing dirty. He wanted to shoot some unbearable videos of him and then post them on the internet to completely ruin his image in Nalan Wuxia's heart. Chapter 531. The head bodyguard said, "It's a pity that a handsome young man is about to lose his reputation. But you can't blame others. You can only blame yourself for being blind. How dare you provoke the young master of the Chu family in Shanghai? Aren't you courting death?" The bearded bodyguard said, "Ordinary people should have the awareness of ordinary people. You want to steal a woman from the young master of the Chu family. You are tired of living. Forget it, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. I still have to go back to report." The head bodyguard looked at Qin Haodong contemptuously and said, "Are you going to take off all your clothes yourself, or do you want us to do it for you?" The bearded bodyguard screamed, "I think you'd better do it yourself. It'll be more comfortable that way. Didn't a famous person say that? Since you can't resist, then enjoy it comfortably." Qin Haodong looked at these people and sneered, "If you kneel down now, I can spare you once. If you make me do it, it will be too late." He didn't expect that at this time, the toy boy in front of him still didn't take him seriously. The bodyguard Cho said angrily, "Boy, you are courting death." The bearded bodyguard cried, "Brother, don't talk nonsense with him. I think this boy is itching for a beating. I'll help him relieve the itch first." Then he waved the whip in his hand and lashed at Qin Haodong fiercely. However, as soon as he raised the whip in his hand, he suddenly felt that his hand was light. He didn't know how the whip was in Qin Haodong's hand, but then a sharp pain appeared on his face. Crack, crack, crack. Qin Haodong lashed him to the ground several times in succession. Then he looked at the bearded man who was screaming like a pig and said sarcastically, "What are you screaming for? Didn't you just say that? Since you can't resist, then enjoy it." The head bodyguard's expression changed greatly. He shouted to the remaining 3 bodyguards, "This boy is quite difficult to deal with. Let's go together." After that, the 4 of them swarmed up and surrounded Qin Haodong. But ants were still ants. Moreover, there were only 4 of them. In the blink of an eye, they were all put down to the ground. The head bodyguard was completely dumbfounded and his face was full of horror. No wonder he dared to lead them here. It turned out that Qin Haodong was a master. Qin Haodong waved the whip in his hand and whipped all of them. Then he said jokingly, "How is it? Does it feel good?" The head bodyguard shouted, "Brother, please spare us. We have no choice. Chu Huayu asked us to come." "You speak as if you are innocent." Qin Haodong looked at them and smiled. He took out 5 black pills from his pocket, pinched open their mouths and put 1 pill into each of their mouths. Although they knew that this pill was not a good thing, the bodyguards had no right to resist and could only swallow it. The bearded bodyguard said with a bitter face, "Big brother, what did you give us?" Qin Haodong sneered, "Didn't anyone tell you that I'm a doctor? This medicine is called 3 days intestines shattering powder. After taking it for 3 days, your intestines will rupture and your stomach will rot, and you will die a horrible death." None of them uttered a word after listening to him, but it could be seen from their expressions that they obviously did not believe what Qin Haodong said. The head bodyguard thought to himself, "Do you think this is a movie? 3 days intestines shattering powder? Why don't you say it's half a step with a smile?" Qin Haodong saw through their thoughts and smiled playfully. "You don't believe me, right? Then I'll let you feel it now." After that, he raised his hand and snapped his fingers. The 5 bodyguards immediately felt a heart-wrenching pain in their stomachs. The pain went deep into their bones as if their intestines had been split open. Ah! The screams of pigs being slaughtered resounded through the night sky. Fortunately, it was empty and there was no one around. Otherwise, they would really think that it was haunted. "Spare us, big brother, spare us. We believe you, let us go, big brother. We will do anything." The 5 people rolled on the ground in pain and kept begging Qin Haodong for mercy. Qin Haodong snapped his fingers again, and the pain in their stomachs magically disappeared immediately. He looked at his watch and said, "How is it? Feels good, right? It's only been 10 seconds. If you wait for the medicine to take effect 3 days later, you will be in pain for 3 hours and then you will die." The 5 people lay on the ground, soaked in sweat and kept panting. Was it only 10 seconds? The pain just now made their hearts tremble when they thought about it. It was as if 10 years had passed. They didn't expect that it would be so short. If they were in pain for 3 hours, it was simply unimaginable. At this time, their intestines were green with regret. They originally thought that it would be a very easy task to complete, but they didn't expect that the other party was such a ruthless character. "Big brother, tell us, what do you want us to do?" The head bodyguard was still a smart man. He knew that Qin Haodong didn't want to kill them. With Qin Haodong's means, he didn't have to go through so much trouble to kill them. Qin Haodong said, "Tell me first, how does Chu Huayu want you to deal with me?" At this time, the head bodyguard naturally didn't dare to hide anything. He told him Chu Huayu's purpose. It was similar to what Qin Haodong had thought. Chu Huayu asked these bodyguards to take off his clothes, then use all kinds of strange methods to make a video and post it on the internet. At that time, even if he still had the face to pursue Wuxia wouldn't look at him. After that, the head bodyguard quickly explained, "Big brother, this is all Chu Huayu's idea. It has nothing to do with us at all." The other 4 bodyguards also shouted, "That's right, big brother. We all have parents and children to take care of. We followed Chu Huayu to earn some hard-earned money. Please let us go. Seeing that your attitude is not bad, I'll give you a chance. Qin Haodong said, go back now and do what I just said on Chu Huayu's body. Then post it on the internet. If I'm satisfied, I'll give you the antidote for the 3 days intestines shattering powder. The 5 bodyguards suddenly looked bitter. Chu Huayu is the young master of the Chu family. We can't afford to offend him. Otherwise, we won't be able to survive in Shanghai in the future. Qin Haodong sneered and said, if you offend Chu Huayu, you won't be able to survive in Shanghai at most. If I don't give you the antidote for the 3 days intestines shattering powder, you won't be able to survive in the world of the living. You can only report to the underworld. Thinking of what they had just experienced, they shuddered. They didn't want to experience that kind of feeling in their lives. The head bodyguard quickly said, Big brother, we'll do as you say now. I hope you'll keep your word. Qin Haodong said, don't worry. You're just a few insignificant people. I don't need to make things difficult for you. As long as you do as I say, I'll immediately give you the antidote for the 3 days intestines shattering powder. At the same time, I want to remind you that my poison is a secret creation. No hospital can detect it. Don't take any chances. If you don't believe me, you can go and try it. The head bodyguard gritted his teeth and said, let's go find Chu Huayu now. After that, the 5 people put the whips and other things back into their bags. They turned around and got into the Passat. They drove to the city of Shanghai. Qin Haodong smiled and turned around to get into the car. As Qin Haodong expected, the 5 bodyguards didn't go back to the Chu family directly. Instead, they went to the hospital in the center of Shanghai. They first saw an expert doctor and then did a full-body blood test. The result was that they were very healthy, and there were no signs of poisoning. The bearded bodyguard said to the head bodyguard, Big brother, it's really like what that kid said. The hospital can't detect that we were poisoned, let alone detoxify it. What should we do? The head bodyguard said with a livid face, what else can we do now? We can only do as he says. Another bodyguard said, Chu Huayu is the young master of the Chu family. If we offend him, we really won't be able to establish ourselves in Shanghai in the future. We might even go to prison. The head bodyguard said, do you want to die? If we can't establish ourselves in Shanghai, at least we can go to other places. If we offend that person, we only have 3 days to live. Everyone get ready. We'll go to other places immediately after we're done. Another bodyguard said hesitantly, Big brother, is this really okay? Why don't we call the police? Xiao, whose bodyguard, slapped the back of the bodyguard's head and said, are you King crazy? You can't even detect a bit of poison now. Why do you call the police? Do you want the police to think we're mentally ill? Everyone stop talking nonsense. If you don't want your intestines to be broken in 3 days, do as Big brother says. Thinking of the taste of the 3 days intestines breaking powder, they immediately stopped talking. They knew that there was no other way but to carry out Qin Haodong's orders. At this moment, the head bodyguard's cell phone rang. It was Chu Huayu. You guys, how's it going? The head bodyguard said, young master, we've done it. We're on our way back now. Chu Huayu said with a smile, hurry up. I can't wait. I really want to see that kid get wax dripped on him. Don't worry, young master. We'll be back in 10 minutes. The head bodyguard hung up the phone and rushed to the Chu family's villa with a few people. Chu Huayu sat on a comfortable leather sofa and tasted red wine happily. He kept imagining various scenes of Qin Haodong being put on a nurse's uniform and then whipped and dripping wax. Kid, you want to steal my woman? Let's see if you still have the face to appear in Shanghai in the future. Even if you're thick-skinned, Nailin Wuxia will think that you're gay. She won't even look at you again. At this point he laughed out loud. At this moment there was a knock on the door. The head bodyguard said, young master, we're back. Come in. After seeing the bodyguards enter the door, Hu Huayu said eagerly, show me the video. Is it good? Did you enjoy it? Don't worry, young master will definitely make you satisfied. The young bodyguard said with a wretched face. Then he turned on the camera and attracted Chu Huayu's attention. Chu Huayu stuck out his head and stretched his neck. He was about to enjoy Qin Haodong's hardcore video when the head bodyguard made a move behind him. He slashed the back of his neck with his palm. Before he realized what was going on, he had already fainted. When Chu Huayu woke up again, he found that he had been tied up and his clothes had been taken off. A drop of hot liquid dripped on his body, causing him to twitch in pain. He turned his head and saw a bodyguard standing next to him, holding a burning candle in his hand. Before he could come back to his senses, The whip in the hand of the head bodyguard next to him had already hit his body. On the opposite side, the bearded bodyguard was carrying a camera to record all of this. "What are you doing? What the F***ck are you doing? Are you all crazy?" Chu Huayu couldn't believe everything in front of him. He originally wanted to inflict something on Qin Haodong, but he didn't expect to enjoy it all. If it weren't for the severe pain coming from his body, he would really think that he was dreaming. The head bodyguard sneered and said, "Young master, you can't blame us. You can only blame yourself for provoking someone you can't afford to provoke." Chapter 532. Chu Huayu was speechless for a while. As the young master of the Chu family, he often said this to others, but now he was using it on himself. However, he had no time to think about who Qin Haodong was. Since these bodyguards had betrayed him, he could only ask for help from others. "Help! Someone come!" He began to shout desperately. The head bodyguard sneered and said, "You don't have to shout. We have already dismissed everyone before we entered the door. It's useless even if you shout yourself hoarse." It turned out that he was right. Chu Huayu shouted for a long time, but there was no movement outside. He couldn't blame others for this. It was all his own fault. He often did some shameful things in his room, so the room's soundproofing was particularly good. There was no one nearby, so no matter how he shouted, his family in the distance could not hear him. Seeing that it was useless to call for help, he said to the head bodyguard and the others, "How much did that kid give you? Tell me a number and I can double it for you." The head bodyguard shook his head and said, "Young master, it's not about money. Since you can't resist, you should enjoy it." After that, he raised the whip in his hand again and screams sounded. These bodyguards were afraid that Qin Haodong would not be satisfied if they were too light, so they used all the tricks they knew on Chu Huayu one by one. He also wore all kinds of clothes in the big bag, including nurse's uniform, waiter's uniform and queen's uniform. All kinds of costumes made Chu Huayu want to die. After tossing and turning for half the night, they were very satisfied with their results. They selected some classic works and uploaded them to the internet. Then they tied Chu Huayu up again, gagged him, locked the door and left. The next morning in the Sun family of Shanghai, the family master, Sun Xingtian, called the housekeeper over and asked, "I just passed by the Shui's jewelry and saw that the commercial building opposite us suddenly had a Lin's jewelry sign. What's going on? Is our Sun family going to do a jewelry business?" The housekeeper said, "Master, I don't know. The second miss is in charge of that building. Call Qian over. I'll ask her." "Yes, family master." After the housekeeper finished speaking, she walked toward Sun Qian's room. In the past few days, Sun Qian had been living in fear. She had lost the building and could not get it back. She did not dare to tell her family, for fear that her grandfather would find out one day. "That damn Qin Haodong. I really don't know where he came from. I've tried all kinds of methods but none of them works on him. How can I get my building back?" She was sitting in the room thinking about this problem when the housekeeper pushed the door open and walked in. "Second miss, the patriarch wants to see you." Sun Qian's heart tightened. She pretended to be calm and said, "Grandpa, why did you call me?" The housekeeper said, "It should have something to do with the building in your hand. The master just passed by and saw the sign of Lin's jewelry. He wants to ask you what's going on." Upon hearing this, Sun Qian was completely dumbfounded. She had thought that she could hide it for a while. She did not expect Qin Haodong to act so quickly. He had already started to use the building. However, she didn't dare to disobey the old master. She could only bite the bullet and follow the housekeeper to Sun Xingtian anxiously. "Grandpa, you called me?" Sun Xingtian glanced at her and asked, "What's going on with the building in your hand? Isn't it supposed to be a clubhouse according to the plan? Why did it change to a jewelry company? Even if it's a jewelry business, it should be called Sun's Jewelry. Why is it called Lin's Jewelry?" "Grandpa, actually, Sun Qian stammered for a long time but did not say anything. As the head of the Sun family, Sun Xingtian was naturally a shrewd person. He immediately saw that something was wrong and asked with a cold face, "What's going on? Tell me the truth." "Grandpa, it's all that Qin kid's fault." Sun Qian knelt down in front of Sun Xingtian and told him about Qin Haodong snatching the building. Of course, she hid all her faults and described Qin Haodong as an overbearing villain who had forcibly snatched the building from her hands. Sun Xingtian was furious after hearing this. He had never thought that someone in Shanghai would dare to snatch the Sun family's property. "Who the hell is that kid? How dare he attack our Sun family?" Sun Qian said while trembling, He is Zhou Xinju's boyfriend, and he is also a martial arts master. She directly pulled the Zhou family in so that she could cover up some of her incompetence and mistakes. Zhou Xingzhu's boyfriend? Sun Xingtian said coldly, no one can provoke our Sun family, not even the Zhou family. He said to the housekeeper next to him, go and get Mr. Zhang and Mr. Li soon. The housekeeper brought over two middle-aged men in their 50s. They were the Sun family's Mr. Zhang and were both masters of the 5th level of covert power. After entering the door, they saluted Sun Xingtian and said, Master, why did you call us here? Mr. Li, you've worked hard. Go and catch that Qin kid. If he dares to resist, cripple him. Yes, Master. Mr. Li agreed. He asked Sun Chanshan for Qin Haodong's address and relevant information, then turned around and left. Sun Xingtian said again, Mr. Zhang, go with Chanshan now. Bring enough people and tear down Lin's jewelry. Yes, Master. Mr. Zhang immediately agreed. As the Sun family's Mr. Zhang, he didn't care who the other party was. He just had to follow Sun Xingtian's orders. Seeing that her grandfather had finally taken action against Qin Haodong, Sun Chanshan was overjoyed. She could finally vent the anger that had been suppressed in her heart for so many days. She hurriedly left the Sun family with Mr. Zhang and rushed to Lin's jewelry. After Qin Haodong got up, he made breakfast for the beauties at home as usual. After breakfast, he took out his mobile phone and saw the headlines on the hot search. His eyes immediately lit up. The title of the news was, Is the young master of the Chu family straight or gay? Below the title were various photos of Chu Huayu. There were photos of him in a nurse's uniform being whipped, being dripped with wax and all kinds of hardcore stuff. It made people's scalps tingle. Not bad. These guys are quite efficient. Qin Haodong was very satisfied with the efficiency of the 5 bodyguards. He called Nailin Wuxia. It was the weekend. After thinking for a long time, Nailin Wuxia's lazy voice came from the other side. It seemed that she hadn't gotten up yet. Haodong, why are you calling me so early in the morning? Qin Haodong said, I have good news for you. From today on, Chu Huayu will never trouble you again. Hearing this news, Nailin Wuxia immediately sobered up and said, You didn't kill him, did you? Murder is against the law. Qin Haodong said with a smile, I didn't kill him, but destroyed his reputation. You will know when you look at today's hot search headlines. Don't hang up yet. Let me take a look. Nailin Wuxia said as she turned on the laptop next to her. When she saw the hardcore photos of Chu Huayu, she immediately cried out in surprise, You did this? Aren't you a bit too ruthless? Qin Haodong said, I did it and I didn't do it. As he said this, he told her about how Chu Huayu had hired bodyguards to plot against him last night. Finally, he said, I was just giving him a taste of his own medicine. I didn't expect these bodyguards to do such a good job. They took photos like this and even made it to the headlines. After hearing this, Nailin Wuxia laughed. Chu Huayu is really ignorant. He dared to provoke you, a devil. However, he can't blame others. It's his own fault for coming up with such a bad idea. He was caught in a trap of his own making. Qin Haodong said, This is a good thing once and for all. It saves a lot of trouble. I guess that from now on, the young master of the Chu family will be too embarrassed to go out, let alone harass you. The two chatted for a while and hung up the phone. At this time, Saber walked in and said, Boss, there are 5 people outside. They said they were looking for you. Qin Haodong knew that the bodyguards had come to ask for the antidote. He grabbed a box of hawthorn pills next to him and took out 5 pills. He handed them to Saber and said, Give them to them. Tell them to take them and leave immediately. In fact, he didn't have the poison of the 3 days intestines shattering powder at all. He just used a little trick with greenwood genuine qi to make those people feel like dying. However, this was a one-time use. Even if they didn't take the medicine, there would be no problem. Saber didn't ask much. He took the 5 hawthorn pills and gave them to the bodyguards. After getting the antidote, the bodyguards thanked him profusely. They immediately swallowed the pills and left Shanghai in a hurry. As soon as they left, another middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s came over. It was Mr. Li of the Sun family. Saber looked at Mr. Li's unfriendly appearance and immediately became vigilant. He asked, Who are you looking for? As the Sun family's Mr. Li, an expert at the 5th level of covert power, Mr. Li had always been arrogant. He raised his chin and said arrogantly, Does Qin Haodong live here? Tell him to tie himself up and come out to see me, so that he won't suffer. Saber frowned and said angrily, Who are you? Are you looking for trouble? I'm Mr. Li of the Sun family in Shanghai. Tell Qin Haodong to come out and die. I think you're looking for death. Saber roared angrily and suddenly punched toward Mr. Li's face. Mr. Li's expression changed. He originally thought that Saber was just an ordinary bodyguard. He didn't expect Saber to be so strong. He quickly dodged the punch and the two of them fought together. During this time, the 6 people of the Divine Mercenaries had reached the 5th level of covert power with the help of the spirit culturing pill. As the captain, Saber's cultivation was no less than that of Mr. Li. The two of them were fighting for a while. Qin Haodong put down the phone and was about to appreciate those classic photos of Chu Huayu. Lin Momo hurried in from outside and said anxiously, "Haodong, something bad happened." "What's wrong?" Qin Haodong asked. The person in charge of the group just called and said that the renovated headquarters of Lin's group was smashed and our staff was injured. Qin Haodong stood up and said angrily, "Who did it?" Lin Momo said, "It said that the leader is Sun Qianqian, the second daughter of the Sun family. This woman is not done yet." Qin Haodong said, "Let's go and have a look." He went out with Lin Momo and happened to see Saber and Mr. Li fighting in front of the door. The two of them had similar cultivation and strength, so it was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. Qin Haodong said to Sword, who was watching the fight, "Who is this person?" Sword said, "He's looking for trouble. I heard that he's Mr. Li of the Sun family." The Sun family again. It seems that it's not just Sun Qianqian this time. Qin Haodong's expression was cold as he said to Sword, "What are you waiting for? Let's go together. We're in a hurry." Chapter 533. Yes, boss. Sharp Sword and the others disdained gang fighting, but now they got Qin Haodong's order. They didn't care so much anymore. The 6 of them rushed to Mr. Li together. Mr. Li was poor. It was already very difficult to deal with Saber alone. Now there were 5 more masters at the 5th level of covert power. How could he deal with them? He was hit one after another and screamed. Soon he was tied up by Saber with a rope. Mr. Li was completely dumbfounded, lying on the ground. With his cultivation at the 5th level of covert power, although he was not the top master in the Sun family, he had a high status and was respected. But when it came to Qin Haodong, a random bodyguard was at the 5th level of covert power. What was going on? He thought it was a very simple task, but he fell into the hands of masters and was beaten like a dog. Who was this young man? What virtue or ability did he have to command so many experts? However, Qin Haodong didn't give him a chance to answer his questions. He directly asked Saber to throw him into the trunk and drove straight to the new headquarters of Lin's group. When they arrived, Sun Qianqian and Mr. Zhang had already left with their people. The newly renovated headquarters of Lin's group was in a state of devastation. It was completely smashed and there were broken walls and ruins everywhere. Seeing Qin Haodong and Lin Momo, several employees who had been beaten black and blue came over. "Mr. Lin, Mr. Qin, you're here?" Qin Haodong asked again. "Are you sure they are from the Sun family?" The woman in the lead said she is from the Sun family. Her name is Sun Qianqian. An employee took out his mobile phone and said, "Mr. Qin, I secretly recorded this." Qin Haodong glanced at the video on the mobile phone and was sure that it was Sun Qianqian. However, the people around her were not the bald man's bodyguards, but the warriors of the Sun family. Lin Momo's face was gloomy. After coming to Shanghai, she had been busy with the preparation of Lin's group. These were her painstaking efforts. She thought it would open soon, but she didn't expect it to be smashed into ruins in the blink of an eye. "Haodong, what should we do?" "Of course we go to the Sun family to settle accounts. No one can ride on our heads, not even the Sun family." Qin Haodong had already understood that if the Sun family was not completely eliminated, Lin's group could not have a foothold in Shanghai at all. Now it was time for them to establish their power. He took out his mobile phone and dialed Ma Wenjua's number directly. "Bring all the people in the company and follow me to the Sun family to settle the score." "Boss, did the Sun family provoke us?" Realizing that there was going to be a tough battle, Ma Wenjua immediately became excited. "Those bastards from the Sun family, I've long been displeased with them. Now that they dare to provoke you, boss, I must teach them a lesson this time. Just you wait, I'll immediately bring some people over." After that, he hung up the phone and immediately pulled the emergency assembly button of the Daddy Security Company. All the members of the Daddy Security Company were martial artists. With the help of the big strengthening elixir, they were now masters of covert power or above. They moved very quickly. In less than half a minute, all the members of the Daddy Security Company had gathered. "Brothers, the boss needs us to do something. It's time for everyone to perform. Keep your spirits up and don't lose face. Otherwise I'll skin you alive." "Yes?" 100 people shouted deafeningly at the same time. They were originally injured and retired soldiers. It was Qin Haodong who cured their illnesses and gave them jobs. Some time ago he gave each of them a settlement allowance of 10 million yuan. Now Qin Haodong was the god in their hearts. No matter what he asked them to do, they would go forward without hesitation. After the mobilization, Ma Wenjue took the lead to get in the car. A line of more than a dozen vans left the Daddy Security Company in a mighty manner. In the western suburbs of Shanghai, there was a super luxurious manor. Not only did it cover an area of hundreds of acres, but it was also surrounded by mountains and rivers. The decoration was luxurious and full of momentum. This was the Sun family, one of the 3 big families in Shanghai. In front of the magnificent manor, 8 bodyguards in well-ironed suits were guarding here. They looked so majestic that ordinary people did not dare to approach. The bodyguards of the Sun family who guarded the gate were usually idle because no one dared to make trouble here. Today several people were guarding in front of the gate. Suddenly, more than a dozen cars drove over and stopped in front of the gate of the Sun family's manor. After the cars were parked, Qin Haodong, Ma Wenjue and Lin Momo took the lead to get out of the car. Seeing that someone dared to directly block the gate of the Sun family's manor, the bodyguard captain immediately stepped forward and shouted, "Who are you? Don't you know where you are? How dare you park in front of the Sun family's manor? Hurry up and drive away or I will smash your car." In the past, no one dared to provoke the Sun family. These bodyguards were used to being arrogant, but this time, it was far beyond everyone's expectations. Before the bodyguard captain finished speaking, Ma Wenjue's big foot had appeared in front of him. He kicked him out and hit the luxurious gate hard. Qin Haodong waved to the members of the Daddy Security Company behind him and said, smash it hard." If the Sun family dared to smash his Lin's group, he would smash the Sun family's manor. After receiving the order, the people of the Daddy Security Company shouted and immediately rushed to the Sun family's manor. The remaining 7 bodyguards were kicked out before they could react. Then the gate of the manor, which was worth millions of yuan, collapsed and became a pile of scrap iron in the blink of an eye. The people of the Daddy Security Company were all masters of covert power or above. The destructive power of these people together was amazing. Along the way, the extremely luxurious facilities of the Sun family had been turned into a pile of rubble. In the Sun family's manor, in the hall of the master's villa, Sun Qianqian and Mr. Zhang were standing in front of Sun Xingtian. Mr. Zhang said, "Master, I've completed your task. The Lin's group has been completely destroyed." Sun Xingtian nodded with satisfaction and said, "Good job." He turned his head and said to the housekeeper next to him, "Has Mr. Li not come back yet?" The housekeeper said, "Master, there's no news yet, but it should be soon." Sun Xingtian also felt that this should be the case. He had never thought that Mr. Li would fail. It was impossible for a master of the 5th level of covert power to defeat a student at a university. He said with a gloomy expression, "Later, catch that boy surnamed Qin. I want him to see the consequences of offending the Sun family. Even if he is Zhou Xinju's boyfriend, he can't offend the Sun family. Only death awaits him if he offends the dignity of our Sun family." As the master of the Sun family, in his eyes, there was only strength, no right or wrong. Although he knew that Sun Qianqian must have done something shameful in this matter, it was not important, because the Sun family's fist was strong enough. Sun Qianqian also said, "Grandpa, you must teach that boy a good lesson. He has gone too far." "Master, big, something bad has happened." At that moment, a bodyguard stumbled in from outside. Sun Xingtian's face darkened and he said with dissatisfaction, "What's the matter? Why are you so flustered?" The bodyguard said, "Master, someone broke into our Sun family's manor. They smashed everything and beat anyone they saw. Our people couldn't stop them at all. We suffered heavy losses." "What did you say? How is that possible?" Sun Xingtian jumped up from the armchair. He couldn't believe it was true. The Sun family had dominated Shanghai for so many years, but they had never been attacked. "Master, it's true. The leader is a young man and King Ma is following him." The bodyguard didn't know Qin Haodong, but he knew Ma Wenjue. "King Ma, why is he here?" Sun Xingtian had heard of this upstart in Shanghai recently, but he didn't take it seriously. He heard that King Ma's cultivation was only a half step to the Supreme Power Realm, but there were several Supreme Power Realm masters in his family. He said to the housekeeper, "Go and invite the 3 high priests of the Suihan 3 friends. Immediately gather people. Let's go out and have a look." The housekeeper agreed and immediately ran out. Qin Haodong rushed into the Sun family with his people, smashing as he walked. Although countless bodyguards rushed out of the Sun family during this period, They couldn't do anything in front of the powerful daddy security company. They couldn't even stop them. Soon they were beaten to the point of losing their helmets and armor, wailing on the ground. Suddenly, another group of people rushed out from the depths of the manor. The leader was an old man with white hair and beard. It was Sun Xingtian, the master of the Sun family. Behind him, there were 3 middle-aged men in robes. They had extraordinary temperaments, and it was obvious that they were masters. There were many warriors around these 3 people, but their cultivation was not very high. Only a dozen of them could reach the level of covert power. "All of you stop right there," Sun Xingtian shouted, full of power as the master of the family. In the end, he found that the people opposite him didn't take him seriously at all. They beat and smashed whatever they should without any intention of stopping. The people of Daddy Security Company only had eyes for Qin Haodong, so they wouldn't take his orders seriously. As long as the boss didn't order them to stop, they would keep smashing. Sun Xingtian was so angry that his beard twitched. He shouted to Ma Wenjue, "King Ma, isn't this a bit too much? Hurry up and tell your people to stop." Ma Wenjue said happily, "Old son, you're wrong this time. Daddy Security Company is not mine. This is my boss." As he spoke, he pointed to Qin Haodong, who was standing with his hands behind his back. Sun Xingtian looked at Qin Haodong and shouted, "Boy, who are you? Why did you smash my house? Hurry up and tell your people to stop." "Stop? Why should I stop?" Qin Haodong sneered, "You just smashed my jewelry company and now I'm smashing your manor? So you're the villain who bullied my granddaughter." Only then did Sun Xingtian know Qin Haodong's identity. He asked, "Why are you here? Where's Mr. Li? Are you talking about him?" Qin Haodong waved his hand behind him and threw Mr. Li, who was tied up like a rice dumpling, over with a long saber. Sun Xingtian's expression changed greatly and he said angrily, "Qin Haodong, you robbed my granddaughter's building and now you beat our Mr. Li. Do you think we're easy to bully? I'll give you a chance now. Hurry up and tell your people to stop, or you'll have to bear the consequences." Qin Haodong smiled slightly, "Really? Then I'd like to see what the consequences are." Sun Xingtian waved his hand and said to the servants behind him, "Do it?" "Yes." The people behind him were not ordinary bodyguards, but the elites of the Sun family. After receiving the order, they swarmed up and fought with the people of Daddy Security Company. Sun Xingtian originally thought that he would definitely win the battle because he was fighting on his home ground, but soon his expression changed. Although the Sun family servants had the advantage in numbers, their cultivation was much worse than that of the people of Daddy Security Company. All of them were masters of covert power or above, while they only had a dozen covert power masters on their side. The others were all defeated in one move. How could they fight? In less than 3 minutes, Daddy Security Company won an overwhelming victory. The people of the Sun family were beaten to the point that they were rolling on the ground, crawling and pissing their pants. They were as miserable as they could be. Chapter 534. Stop right now? Sun Xingtian sadly found that he had not shouted the word stop as many times in his life as he had today. However, he had no choice. If he didn't stop, his servants would be completely crippled by the people from the Daddy Security Company. "Qin, hurry up and tell your people to stop. We can talk." Qin Haodong waved his hand and asked the people from the Daddy Security Company to stop first. Then he said, "If you want to talk, you can compensate for all the losses of Arlin's jewelry and redecorate the smashed house for me. I will only give you 3 days. Not more than 1 day. In your dreams." Sun Xingtian didn't expect Qin Haodong to put forward such a condition. He cried, "That building originally belonged to our Sun family. We smashed our own house. Why should we accompany you?" Qin Haodong said, "You have to be reasonable. My name is clearly written on the property certificate of this building. How can it belong to your Sun family?" Sun Xingtian cried, "It originally belonged to our Sun family. You snatched it from my granddaughter." "Snatched? Your granddaughter is right next to you. Ask her if she dares to say that I snatched this house." Qin Haodong sneered, "Your granddaughter paid my medical fees for breast enlargement. She asked someone to send the property certificate to me. How can it be that I snatched it?" Looking at Sun Qianqian, whose head was almost touching her 2 big balls, Sun Xingtian knew without asking that Qin Haodong was telling the truth. However, he still said, "No matter what you say, you attacked our Sun family today. If you want to solve it, we have our conditions." Qin Haodong smiled slightly and said with great interest, "Tell me, what are your conditions?" Sun Xingtian straightened his back and said domineeringly, "First, return our Sun family's building. Second, compensate for our current losses. Third, publicly apologize to our Sun family. Stop. Stop now. Qin Haodong couldn't stand it anymore. He really didn't know where this old man got his confidence from. He said, "Old Sun, can you be more shameless? Sun Xingtian had lived for more than 70 years, and it was the first time that someone had pointed at his nose and called him shameless." He immediately said angrily, "Boy, don't think that you're great just because you have a few subordinates. You haven't seen our Sun family's trump card yet." Qin Haodong said, "Well, show me your trump card. You won't shed a tear until you see your coffin. Don't regret it when the time comes." Sun Xingtian turned around and said respectfully to the three people behind him, "Masters, I'll have to trouble the three of you this time." These three people were the top masters invited by the Sun family. They were known as the three friends of winter in the martial arts world. They were Mr. Song, Mr. Zhu, and Mr. Mei. Among them, Mr. Song had the highest cultivation. He had reached the second level of the Supreme Power Realm. Mr. Zhu and Mr. Mei were both level 1 of the Supreme Power Realm. The combination of three grandmasters was not to be underestimated anywhere in Wuxia. It was also because of these three people that the Sun family was ranked first among the three big families. Mr. Song said, "Rest assured, Patriarch. Leave these people to us three brothers." After he finished speaking, he stepped in front of Qin Haodong and Ma Wenjue with Mr. Zhu and Mr. Mei. Mr. Mei said, "Young man, I have to say that your people are a little strong, but they are still far from us. If you know what's good for you, hurry up and do what Patriarch Sun said. If you wait for us to take action, it will be too late." Qin Haodong glanced at the three people disdainfully and said, "You guys are not worthy. Arrogant." Mr. Mei strode out, pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted, "Boy, come here and let me teach you how to be a man. I already said that you are not worthy." Qin Haodong turned around and said to Ma Wenjue, "You've already broken through to the Supreme Power Realm, but you're still so calm. I'll leave this old guy to you. Practice and consolidate your cultivation." "Boss, you can see that. I wanted to give you a surprise." Ma Wenjue originally had the Kailan holy body, so his cultivation speed was far faster than that of ordinary people. With the help of Qin Haodong's elixirs, he broke through the bottleneck of covert power last night and became a level 1 Supreme Power Master. He wanted to find an opportunity to show off to Qin Haodong, but he did not expect that Qin Haodong would see through him at a glance. "I don't need it. You better give this old guy a surprise." Qin Haodong pointed at Mr. Mei and said, "Don't worry, boss. I'll definitely beat him up." After Ma Wenjue finished speaking, he strode in front of Mr. Mei. "You're a level 1 Supreme Power Master. You're pretending to be mysterious. I'll expose your true colors." In Mr. Mei's opinion, the conversation between the two was for him. How could such a young man break through to the Supreme Power Realm? It would be good if he could reach the level of covert power. Splitting wind palm. Mr. Mei shouted and hit Ma Wenjue's chest with his palm. It was the splitting wind palm that he was best at. "Good timing. Watch my rice bun fist. I'll stuff you to death." With a loud shout, Ma Wenjue did not dodge. He did not care about Mr. Mei's palm at all. Instead, he waved his fist and hit Mr. Mei's chest. Mr. Mei sneered. In his opinion, Ma Wenjue was courting death. Even if Qin Haodong had just broken through to the level 1 Supreme Power Realm, there was still a gap between them. Mr. Mei had been in this realm for 5 years and his skills were profound. How could a boy who had just broken through compare to him? Therefore he did not dodge. On the contrary, he increased the strength of the splitting wind palm from 80% to 120%. A sneer appeared at the corner of Mr. Song's mouth. In his opinion, Ma Wenjue was dead for sure. A young man in his 20s was definitely no match for his junior brother. With two muffled bangs, the two figures suddenly separated. Mr. Song's eyes widened. The scene in the field was far beyond his expectations. Ma Wenjue retreated 4 to 5 steps after forcefully clashing with the palm just now. Then he steadied himself. He was calm and composed as he cheered loudly. Mr. Mei, who was originally favored, was like a kite with a broken string. He flew more than 10 meters away and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that his internal organs were injured. How is this possible? Mr. Song could not understand. Mr. Mei was even more furious. They were both level 1 Supreme Power Masters and had also fought head-on. Even if he did not gain the upper hand, why was he the one who was injured? Why was Qin Haodong's fist so strong? Why did he have such a cultivation at such a young age? They never dreamed that Ma Wenjue had the Kailan holy body, which was rarely seen in 1,000 years. Not only was his defensive ability strong, but his strength was also far beyond that of ordinary people. Even Qin Haodong rarely fought with him head-on. Old man, come again? Ma Wenjue could not find such a suitable opponent on normal days. Today he had caught Mr. Mei. How could he let him go so easily? In a flash he appeared in front of him and punched again. With the previous lesson, Mr. Mei did not dare to fight head-on again. He used his unique body movement to avoid the punch and then fought with Qin Haodong. Although Ma Wenjue had a little advantage in the first round, after all, he had just entered the threshold of the supreme power realm. He was not very skilled in the use of his strength and experience, so he soon fell into a disadvantage. However, he also had his own advantages. With the super defense and strength of the Kylin holy body, he was inextricably entangled with Mr. Mei. And as time went by, he became more and more proficient in the use of cultivation methods. Gradually he began to take the initiative, and Mr. Mei was slowly overwhelmed. After fighting for more than 10 minutes, Ma Wenjue had completely stabilized his cultivation at the first level of the supreme power realm. He had the upper hand in terms of strength, defense, and speed. Mr. Mei's whole body had been soaked with sweat. He had never seen such a freak. He grew so fast. Was he still a human? Just at the moment when he was slightly distracted, Ma Wenjue's fist had already arrived in front of him. He tried his best to avoid the punch, but he could no longer avoid the kick below. With a bang, Mr. Mei flew into the air like a sandbag that had been kicked. He began to spit out mouthfuls of blood in mid-air. Fortunately, Mr. Song caught him in time to prevent him from falling again. Even so, Mr. Mei's face was as white as paper, and he completely lost the ability to fight again. The Sun family was in awe. Usually, the three friends of winter were like immortals in the eyes of their master. They were masters at the supreme power realm and were almost invincible. However, everything in front of them had subverted their understanding. Qin Haodong had casually sent a young man to beat their Mr. Mei until he vomited blood. How could they continue fighting? How could the Sun family compete with them? Sun Xingqian's face instantly became ugly. He originally thought that the Sun family was strong enough and his fists were hard enough to crush Qin Haodong and the others. Now he was defeated, and very badly. Qin Haodong, who seemed to be more powerful, had not made a move yet. It was only Ma Wenjue. Let me? After a loud shout, Mr. Zhu jumped into the air and pounced on Ma Wenjue. The three friends of winter were as close as brothers. Seeing that Mr. Mei was injured, he wanted to avenge his junior brother. Mr. Zhu was like a mad tiger, constantly attacking. However, his cultivation was only about the same as Mr. Mei's, so how could he be Ma Wenjue's opponent? After only a dozen rounds of fighting, he was sent flying by Ma Wenjue's punch. He fell to the ground and vomited blood. It seemed that his injury was not much lighter than Mr. Mei's. Two of the three masters had been defeated, and the morale of the Sun family had fallen to the lowest point. Ma Wenjue had won 2 games in a row and shouted proudly, "Who else? Boy, you're too arrogant." Mr. Song walked over with a gloomy face. "Old man, are you not convinced? Come here and I'll beat you until you vomit blood." As soon as Ma Wenjue finished speaking, he was pulled back by Qin Haodong. Mr. Song was a real second-level supreme power master, far more powerful than Mr. Mei and Mr. Zhu. Even though he had the Kylin holy body to protect himself, he could only be a sandbag for Mr. Song. After calling Ma Wenjue back, Qin Haodong said to Lin Momo, "I'll leave this old man to you." Lin Momo was now a third-level supreme power master, but she lacked actual combat experience. Mr. Song, who was a second-level supreme power master, was just right for her to practice. Seeing that Qin Haodong had asked a woman to fight with him, Mr. Song said with a cold face, "Boy, are you insulting me? If you have the ability, come over and let's fight." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Old man, I already said that you're not worthy. Beat my woman first." "Boy, since you don't care about your woman's life, don't blame me for being ruthless." The successive injuries of his 2 brothers had ignited the anger in Mr. Song's heart. A touch of shock flashed across his face, and then his whole body flew into the air. His legs turned into a sky full of leg shadows, surrounding Lin Momo's figure. Those who were familiar with Mr. Song knew that his life's cultivation was in his legs. This time he was really angry. Lin Momo stood quietly in the field, unmoved by everything in front of her. Seeing that Mr. Song's leg shadows were approaching, she also kicked out in an instant. However, compared with Mr. Song's legs, her legs were straight and slender, with too much momentum. On the contrary, they were infinitely beautiful. Will this work? Such a beautiful thigh will definitely be kicked off by Mr. Song. Is Qin Haodong crazy? He didn't take good care of such a beautiful wife but let her die. Although they were enemies, the people of the Sun family still felt infinite pity for the extremely beautiful Lin Momo. Chapter 535. In front of everyone's eyes, the two legs collided. After a loud bang, Mr. Song's body spun like a top and flew into the air, while Lin Momo leisurely retracted her long leg. Her body did not move and her expression did not change. Obviously, she had gained the upper hand in this hard fight. How is this possible? Mr. Mei, Mr. Zhu, Sun Xingtian, and all the members of the Sun family opened their mouths in surprise. Mr. Song was the well-deserved #1 master of the Sun family, but he actually suffered a loss in a hard fight with this woman. What was going on? Where did this woman come from? How could she be so strong? She seemed to be more powerful than King Ma. Mr. Song was the most shocked. At this time he was in the air, barely controlling his constantly spinning body. There was a surge of blood in his chest. He never dreamed that he would be the one who suffered a loss in a hard fight. The nightmare had just begun. When his body fell, Lin Momo's palms were already waiting for him. In the air, Mr. Song had no better choice, so he could only choose to fight hard. The four palms of the two people collided again. After two muffled bangs, Mr. Song's body was shaken into the air again. This time it was embarrassing. No matter how hard he tried, Lin Momo was waiting for him when he fell. The only choice left for him was to fight hard. However, his internal force cultivation was not as good as Lin Momo's. Every time he fought hard, he suffered a loss and was shaken high. In this way, Mr. Song's feet could not land. He could not use his exquisite moves and body movements. He used his actual actions to prove what it meant to be beaten. After fighting hard for a dozen times, he could no longer control himself. He spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. This was the inevitable result after a hard fight between a level 2 Supreme Power Master and a level 3 Supreme Power Master. Don't fight, I admit defeat. In desperation, Mr. Song could only choose to admit defeat in public. Although he was extremely unwilling and aggrieved, he could only choose this way. If he continued to fight, he could not see any hope of recovering, and it was easy for him to be beaten to death. Seeing him admit defeat, Lin Momo did not continue to fight, but returned to Qin Haodong's side. Mr. Song's feet finally stepped on the ground. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stumbled back to the Sun family's team. Qin Haodong looked at Sun Xingtian and said, "Old man Sun, what other trump cards do you have?" "You." Sun Xingtian's eyes were filled with despair. As the head of the Sun family, his style had always been extremely overbearing. He had always been the one to bully others. He had never been the one to be bullied like today. But the current situation was that their Sun family was defeated, and they were completely defeated. From the lowest bodyguard to the high and mighty 3 friends of winter and 3 great consecrators, they were all beaten like dogs. He couldn't be tough even if he wanted to. Qin Haodong said, "Don't talk nonsense. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Now I only give you 2 choices. Either you agree to my conditions or you destroy your Sun family." Sun Xingtian's face was pale. The Sun family's manor was built by him, and it had been continuously expanded and improved over the years. It was worth more than billions of yuan. More importantly, the Sun family's manor was also their pride. If it was really destroyed by Qin Haodong, how could the Sun family have a foothold in Shanghai? How could they still claim to be one of the top 3 aristocratic families? This was no longer a matter of money, but related to the survival of the Sun family. Thinking of this, his mouth was full of bitterness, but he had no other choice. "Okay, I promise you." It was extremely difficult for Sun Xingtian to say these 6 short words. "That's for the best. It saves me trouble." Qin Haodong said, "Within 3 days, decorate the headquarters of Lin's jewelry. Otherwise, there will be no room for negotiation the next time I come." Sun Qianqian, who had been silent, suddenly shouted, "Qin Haodong, don't go too far. How can such a big building be decorated in 3 days?" Qin Haodong looked at her coldly and said, "I'm going too far. What can you do?" Only then did Sun Qianqian realize that she had no ability to fight back against this young man. Even her grandfather had given in. What could she do? Qin Haodong continued, "When you smashed my house, why didn't you think of going too far? I'll only give you 3 days, not 1 more second. In addition, your Sun family has to compensate us for the loss of 500 million yuan. You be ***, it's all your fault." At this time, Sun Xingtian vented all his anger on Sun Qianqian. He raised his hand and slapped her twice in a row. Then he shouted to the bodyguard beside him, "Lock her up. Don't let her out without my order." Sun Qianqian was taken away. When Sun Xingtian turned around again, he seemed to have aged a lot. 500 million yuan was nothing to him. Although it was difficult to decorate a building in 3 days, the Sun family could do it with their strength. The most important thing was that he had just sent people to smash someone else's house, and now he had to decorate it himself. This huge sense of humiliation completely shattered his inner pride. However, the young man in front of him was too powerful, so powerful that he could not resist at all. For the Sun family, he could only lower his proud head. I promise you. Under the pressure of powerful force, Sun Xingtian finally signed the agreement. Remember, you only have one chance. There won't be a second time. After Qin Haodong said that, he left the Sun family with his people. He was not afraid that Sun Xingtian would go back on his word. This was the embodiment of strength. He believed that after today, the Sun family would not have the guts to go back on their word even if they wanted to. As soon as the people from Daddy Security Company left, Sun Xingtian opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he did not do anything, he could not bear this feeling of grievance. The Sun family, which was once high and mighty, had been trampled under someone's feet. With the help of 2 bodyguards, he staggered back to his room. He waved his hand and asked the 2 bodyguards to leave, leaving him alone in the room. A moment later, a black figure abruptly appeared in the room. This person was completely wrapped in a black robe, making it impossible to see his appearance clearly. With his back to Sun Xingtian, he said in a hoarse voice, "Why, are you not convinced? Holy Messenger, of course I'm not convinced to be trampled under the feet of that brat." Sun Xingtian shouted to the man in black, "Holy Messenger, please take revenge for the sake of our Sun family's service all these years and kill that brat surnamed Qin." The man in black's robe shook slightly and said, "You don't have to be unconvinced. I can't help you with this. I just saw that brat. His strength is very, very strong. It can be said that his cultivation is unfathomable. It's very likely that his cultivation is above mine." "What? How is that possible?" Sun Xingtian's face was full of disappointment. This man in black was like a god in his heart. Even he was afraid of Qin Haodong. How could he take revenge? The man in black said, "You don't have to be too discouraged. Do the task assigned by the holy sect well. When the holy sect opens in a few days, I will contact the sect master. The masters in the sect will naturally help you get rid of that brat." Speaking of this, he said in a stern tone, "But during this period of time, you must restrain the people of the Sun family. If you provoke that brat again and delay the holy sect's important matters, your Sun family doesn't need to exist in Shanghai anymore." Sun Xingtian was so scared that he trembled all over and said respectfully, "Sir Divine Envoy, I will remember." 2 hours later, all the core disciples of the Sun family returned to the Sun family's manor and held a family meeting. Most of these people had their own family affairs to take care of and did not live in the manor. When they returned home and saw the dilapidated Sun family's manor, they were filled with righteous indignation. They clamored to take revenge and wash away the Sun family's great shame. When Old Man Sun appeared at the front desk, the meeting room immediately quieted down. After all, the family master's authority was greater than anything else. Just when everyone thought that the Sun family was going to mobilize all the power of the family to take revenge on Qin Haodong, they heard Sun Xingtian say, "I've gathered everyone here to announce one thing. From now on, no one is allowed to provoke Qin Haodong of Daddy Security Company. Today's matter is over and no one is allowed to mention the word revenged again." There was an uproar in the meeting room. No one expected that Sun Xingtian would directly give up on revenge. Was he still the overbearing family master of the Sun family in the past? How can this be? Is our Sun family being bullied like this? Our manor was destroyed just like this? In the past, only our Sun family bullied others. When have we ever been bullied? What does the old man mean? How can we tolerate this kind of thing? These people only saw the tragic situation of the Sun family and did not see the terrible strength that Qin Haodong had shown. They thought that Sun Xingtian did not want to take revenge. They never thought that the Sun family did not have the strength to take revenge at all. "All of you shut up. I'm not dead yet. It's not your turn to question my decision." Sun Xingtian's angry voice resounded throughout the meeting room. Everyone immediately quieted down. After all, the family master's power was still there. "I've already said this. If anyone dares to go against my orders and provoke Qin Haodong, then get out of the Sun family and never come back in this life." After that, he turned and left the meeting room, leaving the Sun family members looking at each other in dismay. Although these people did not understand what was going on, they had to carry out the family master's order. Otherwise, with Sun Xingtian's ruthlessness, he would definitely be expelled from the Sun family. These people also knew very well that although they usually looked powerful, if they left the Sun family they would be nothing. In Shanghai, the news that the Sun family was swept away by the Daddy Security Company quickly spread to all the aristocratic families, causing a great uproar at once. Many people were shocked. Everyone knew the strength of the Sun family. The three friends of Winter had dominated the entire martial arts world in Shanghai for many years, but they were beaten by the Daddy Security Company. If it were not for the photos of the Sun family being smashed in front of them, it would be hard to believe that this was true. More importantly, the Sun family completely surrendered and did not take any revenge. On the contrary, after the manor was smashed, they had to compensate 500 million yuan. At the same time, they had to renovate Lin's jewelry company within 3 days. For an aristocratic family, this was a great humiliation. At the same time, it showed how powerful the family master of the Daddy Security Company was. Since then, the name Qin Haodong had been known by everyone in the upper class. Since then, the Daddy Security Company had become famous after one battle. Some people had redivided the top forces in Shanghai. Besides the three aristocratic families, the Daddy Security Company was added. It was even said that the Daddy Security Company was vaguely superior to the three aristocratic families. Many aristocratic families held special meetings about what had happened to the Sun family, and the Zhou family was no exception. After the meeting, Zhou Xingzhu looked at the information in her hand with a smile on her face. She murmured, "Not only is this little man's medical skills amazing, but he also hides his strength so deeply. He's really worth pursuing." Zhou Tao, on the other hand, looked excited. Grandmaster is indeed domineering. He actually beat the old bastard of the Sun family until he didn't have any temper at all. Chapter 536. In the Chu family, Chu Xiongfei, the master of the Chu family, stood in front of the window with his hands behind his back. He couldn't calm down for a long time. The Chu family was only a second-rate family in Shanghai. It couldn't be compared with the first-class families like the Sun family, Zheng family and Zhou family. They were much weaker in all aspects. Just now, he received news that the recently rising Daddy Security Company in Shanghai had defeated the arrogant Sun family. The head of the security company was not King Ma, but another young man named Qin Haodong. From the beginning, there was another Daddy Security Company above the three big families in Shanghai. The head of the company, Qin Haodong, was decisive and ruthless, and his cultivation was unfathomable. In any case, he had already listed Qin Haodong as a person who could not be provoked in his heart. Just as he was lost in thought, the housekeeper came to him and said, "Master, the young master has locked himself in the room. He hasn't eaten or drunk for a day and a night. I don't know what happened." When the bodyguards left, they deliberately told the nearby family that the young master was resting and not to be disturbed. However, it had been so long and the bodyguards had not returned. There was no movement in the room at all. The family was still suspicious and reported it to the housekeeper. The housekeeper also felt that something was wrong and quickly reported it to Chu Xiongfei, the master of the family. "Come with me to have a look." Chu Xiongfei took his family to Chu Huayu's room. After knocking for a long time, there was still no movement in the room. The phone was turned off. He frowned and felt that something was wrong. He ordered the bodyguards around him, "Break the door for me." Several strong bodyguards opened the door quickly and rushed in, but they were suddenly dumbfounded after entering the door. The young master, Chu Huayu, was tied up and thrown on the ground like a dumpling. A sock was stuffed in his mouth and he was wearing a snow-white nurse's uniform. His exposed skin was full of blue and purple whip marks and bright red wax oil, which looked funny and a little shocking. Chu Xiongfei suddenly became furious. "Who did this? Hurry up and let go of the young master." Several bodyguards rushed over and pulled the sock out of Chu Huayu's mouth, and then cut the rope on his body. Chu Huayu struggled a few times but did not stand up. After being tied up for such a long time, the blood in his body was not circulating and his limbs were numb. He had lost the ability to move. The bodyguards massaged him to improve his blood circulation. After a long time he finally stood up from the ground. "Father, you must avenge me. You must tear these bastards into pieces." Chu Huayu hugged Chu Xiongfei's thigh and cried bitterly. Chu Xiongfei asked with a black face, "What the hell is going on? Tell me who did this." "Father will definitely uphold justice for you." At this time he was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. In the Chu family's villa, his son had been harmed like this. Wasn't this a slap in the face to the Chu family? It's my bodyguards. These bastards eating and drinking from me, how dare they turn around and harm me? Hearing Chu Huayu's crying, Chu Xiongfei was confused and said, "Why did your bodyguard attack you? Have they gone mad?" "It's all that Qin brat's fault." Chu Huayu told him how Qin Haodong tried to snatch Nalan Wuxia from him, and how he sent bodyguards to plot against Qin Haodong. He did not expect that those bodyguards would betray him when they came back and use all their means on him. "Father, you must uphold justice for me. Catch that Qin brat, cut him into pieces and throw him into the river to feed the fish." After listening to him, Chu Xiongfei's face became more and more ugly. He asked in a cold voice, "Who is that person you were talking about?" "His name is Qin Haodong, a pretty boy in his 20s. Before Chu Huayu could finish speaking, he was kicked out by Chu Xiongfei. "Father, what are you doing? Why did you hit me?" Chu Huayu was completely stunned. He had suffered such a great grievance, but his father not only did not help him vent his anger, but also objected to him punching and kicking him. Was he still his father? "You son of a b****, why did you provoke Qin Haodong? Do you want to kill the Chu family?" Chu Xiongfei was so angry that he was about to go crazy. He had just listed Qin Haodong as a person who could not be provoked. He did not expect that his disappointing son would go to snatch a woman from Qin Haodong. Even the Sun family, a huge family, could not raise its head. Once Qin Haodong was angry, it would be a matter of minutes for him to destroy the Chu family. Thinking of this, he slapped Chu Huayu's face a few more times. He turned to the bodyguard beside him and said, "Tie this beast up again." The pitiful young master of the Chu clan had only been released for a short while before he was tied up again. Chu Huayu struggled and shouted, "Father, what are you doing? Let me go and help me get revenge." Chu Xiongfei said with a cold face, "Shut up. Do you still want revenge? Do you know how much trouble you have caused for the Chu family this time?" Chu Huayu said unconvinced, "Isn't he just a poor boy? What's the big deal? What's the big deal?" Facing his idiot son, Chu Xiongfei said bitterly, "Do you know that Qin Haodong just brought people to wipe out the Sun family? Even Sun Xingtian, who has always been domineering, was beaten by him. How can you say that it's not a big deal? Now he is above the three great families in Shanghai. You have provoked such a ruthless person. You are setting the Chu family up." "Impossible, this is absolutely impossible," Chu Huayu said after being shocked. "Father, they must have the same name. That poor boy can't be so capable." Chu Xiongfei thought for a moment and felt that it was also possible. He took out the information he had just collected from his pocket and handed Qin Haodong's photo to Chu Huayu. "Look, is this the person?" Chu Huayu looked at the photo. When he saw Qin Haodong's appearance, he was so scared that his face turned pale. Needless to say, Chu Xiongfei also gave up the last hope. He said to the two bodyguards next to him, "Take this beast and follow me." Not long after Qin Haodong returned home, Saber came in and reported, "Boss, Chu Xiongfei, the master of the Chu family, wants to see you." The corner of his mouth curled into a smile as he said, "Let him in." A moment later, Chu Xiongfei came to Qin Haodong with Chu Huayu. He said respectfully, "Mr. Qin, I'm really sorry. My son was blind and offended you. Today I brought him to apologize to you." After that, he turned his head and shouted at Chu Huayu, "Little beast, kneel down and apologize to Mr. Qin. If Mr. Qin doesn't forgive you, I will beat you to death." At this time, Chu Huayu also knew that he had caused a big trouble. He didn't have the temper of a young master at all. He knelt in front of Qin Haodong and said, "Mr. Qin, I was wrong. Please let me go this time." Qin Haodong looked at Chu Huayu. He no longer had the image of an elegant young master. Although he had changed his clothes, the purple whip marks on his body were still clearly visible. Thinking of the photos he saw in the evening, he couldn't help smiling and said, "Young Master Chu, your idea is really good. I don't know if you are online. Now you are a hot topic on the internet. Ordinary people can't get on the internet even if they pay money." Hearing Qin Haodong's words, Chu Huayu wanted to die. It seemed that those bodyguards had really posted his photos on the internet. How could he go out and meet people in the future? Chu Xiongfei couldn't care less. What he was most concerned about now was how to calm Qin Haodong's anger and how to protect the Chu family. "Mr. Qin, in order to express our sincerity in apologizing to you, we have specially prepared some small gifts. Please accept them." After that, he waved his hand behind him. The housekeeper who was waiting at the door immediately came in, followed by 10 women. These 10 women had different skin colors. Some were white, some were yellow, and there was a big black girl. Some were plump, some were slim, some were hot, and some were skinny. The common characteristic of them was that they were tall and beautiful. It was obvious that they had received relevant etiquette training. It turned out that Chu Xiongfei had a rough understanding of Qin Haodong. He knew that there were many beautiful women around him and thought that he was a lecherous person. In addition, the Chu family controlled several large modeling companies and had a lot of beautiful women, so he carefully selected 10 beautiful women and sent them to him. Chu Xiongfei said, "Mr. Qin, these people will listen to you in the future. You can do whatever you want." Qin Haodong was speechless for a while. He thought that he was a lecherous person. Before he could speak, Li Meiyu came in from outside. When she saw these female models, her face suddenly turned cold. "Qin Haodong, what are you doing? Are you going to have a harem?" Qin Haodong was speechless. He thought that Chu Xiongfei was too unreliable. Not to mention that he didn't want these women. Even if he wanted them, he wouldn't have brought them to his house in such a big way. Wasn't he looking for trouble for himself? "No, it has nothing to do with me." Qin Haodong turned around and said to Chu Xiongfei righteously, "What kind of person do you think I am? Take them away quickly." At this time, Chu Xiongfei also realized that he had done something wrong. He quickly waved his hand and asked the housekeeper to take all the models out. "Miss, don't get me wrong. These are the servants I prepared for Mr. Qin. Since you don't like them, I'll take them back." Qin Haodong didn't want to waste any more time with him. He said, "Okay, take your son away quickly." "Thank you, Mr. Qin." Chu Xiongfei pulled Chu Huayu up from the ground. Although Qin Haodong said that he had let them go, he was obviously not very happy. It would be troublesome if he got even with the Chu family later. He added, "Mr. Qin, I also prepared a small gift for you." Seeing that Li Meiyu's face darkened again, he quickly said, "It's not anything else this time, but a medicinal material." Then he took a wooden box from the housekeeper. After opening it, there was a piece of Ganoderma inside, but it was not complete. A part of it had been used. Qin Haodong's eyes suddenly lit up. Although this Ganoderma was incomplete, it was rich in spiritual qi and was more than 1,000 years old. It was a good thing that was hard to find. Seeing his expression, Chu Xiongfei knew that he had made the right bet this time. He quickly said, "Mr. Qin, my father was seriously ill some time ago. I spent a lot of effort to buy this Ganoderma from a medicine farmer. Now my father has passed away. Although I don't know medicine, I know that this is a good thing. I'll give it to you." Qin Haodong took the 1,000-year-old Ganoderma and said with satisfaction, "This thing is good. I want it. If your Chu family needs anything in the future, just tell me." "Thank you, Mr. Qin. We won't disturb you anymore." Seeing that Qin Haodong was satisfied, Chu Xiongfei did not say anything more and immediately left his villa with his people. After going out, he stroked his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he had dealt with this evil person and the Chu family had escaped a disaster. Qin Haodong held the 1,000-year-old Ganoderma and was overjoyed. This was really an unexpected surprise. After reaching the Supreme Power Realm, the effect of the spirit culturing pill had weakened a lot. If he wanted to help Lin Momo and the others continue to improve their cultivation, the best way was to refine the energy-gathering pill suitable for Supreme Power Realm experts. The 1,000-year-old Ganoderma was the main ingredient of the energy-gathering pill. Chapter 537. Qin Haodong was holding the Ganoderma happily, but Li Meiyu snatched it away. He hurriedly cried, "Hey, what are you doing? This is a 1,000-year-old medicine. Don't spoil it." Li Meiyu took the Ganoderma in her hand and looked at it. She didn't know any medical skills, so she couldn't tell what was wrong with it. She said casually, "What's wrong with it? It looks like a piece of wood." Qin Haodong quickly took it back and said, "This is a priceless treasure. You can't buy it even if you have money." Li Meiyu said, "Keep pretending. If I weren't here, would you have had those 10 beauties?" Qin Haodong said, "It's not pretending. Even 100 or 1,000 women can't compare to this Ganoderma, let alone 10. What about me? How do I compare with it?" "You?" Qin Haodong suddenly came to his senses. "You're much more valuable than it." Seeing that Li Meiyu's expression became cold again, he hurriedly said, "I mean, you're priceless to me. How can you compare with medicine?" "That's more like it." Finally, Qin Haodong said quickly, "I won't accompany you for now. I'm going to refine medicine." After that, he ran to carry the little fellow over. The father and daughter went into the underground alchemy room together. He told Saber to guard the door and then they began to refine medicine. Although he had won a big victory in the Sun family this time, Qin Haodong was not blindly arrogant. On the contrary, he had a sense of crisis. Shanghai was an economic city in Wuxia. It was not the holy land of martial arts, but there were 3 supreme masters in the Sun family at once. If it was the capital, how many masters would there be? Because of this sense of crisis, he had to improve his strength as soon as possible, make full use of his advantages, and use the elixirs to improve the cultivation of Ma Wenjue, Lin Momo and others. The little fellow was never tired of helping her father refine medicine. She spent the whole afternoon in the alchemy room, first refining 2 furnaces of energy-gathering pills, and then refining many other commonly used elixirs. They didn't walk out of the alchemy room happily until it was almost evening. As soon as they went out, Saber said, "Boss, someone is looking for you. He has been waiting outside." Qin Haodong asked, "Do you know who it is?" He said he is from the Zhou family. His name is Zhou Tao. "Oh, bring him in to my room." After saying that, Qin Haodong sent the little fellow to Lin Momo and then returned to his room. Not long after, Saber came in with Zhou Tao. "Boss, you're really too awesome. You actually beat up that old bastard from the Sun clan until he doesn't even have any temper left." Zhou Tao said excitedly, "I have long disliked those people from the Sun family. They are arrogant all day long, but unfortunately they don't have the strength. Boss, you really make people happy." Qin Haodong motioned him to sit down, and then said, "You came to my house on the weekend just to tell me this?" "Of course it's not just that. I'm looking for boss for something." As Zhou Tao spoke, he took out a piece of A4 paper from his pocket and handed it to Qin Haodong. "Boss, look, those Koreans not only broke their promise after losing, but also sent us a letter of challenge." Qin Haodong took the A4 paper and looked at it. It was a letter of challenge to the Wuxia Martial Arts Club. There was no name on it, only the Taekwondo Club was marked. "Boss, I've inquired about it. I heard that these Koreans have found new helpers from China, so they dare to come here and continue to clamor." Qin Haodong put down the A4 paper, looked at him jokingly and said, "This is a letter of challenge to your martial arts club. You can deal with it yourself. Why are you looking for me?" "Boss, you can't just stand by and watch me die." Zhou Tao said with a bitter face, "I know my skills best. I can't even beat Kim Yankwon, let alone the masters they have found from China. It doesn't matter if I lose. The key is to represent Wuxia martial arts. At that time you will lose face." Qin Haodong said, "If your own cultivation is not good, you should hurry to improve it. You can't always count on others on the road of martial arts. Boss, practicing martial arts is not a matter of a day or two. Besides, with my aptitude, my master said that I can reach the 9th level of overt power at most. It is impossible for me to break through to the covert power." Zhou Tao sighed and said with annoyance, "I've liked martial arts since I was a child, but God played such a joke on me. Everyone said that my aptitude was not suitable for martial arts." Qin Haodong said, "In fact, aptitude can be changed as long as you have a heart for martial arts." "Boss, what did you say? Can you change my aptitude?" Zhou Tao immediately jumped up. If this was said by someone else, he would definitely not believe it. But now he had a kind of blind worship for Qin Haodong, the kind of crazy fan. Even if Qin Haodong said that he could break through to the level of covert power by jumping from a skyscraper, he would not hesitate to jump. "It's not difficult," Qin Haodong said as he took out a marrow-cleansing pill. "Take it. It will be done in a few minutes." "Great, thank you, boss." Zhou Tao was so excited that he took the marrow-cleansing pill and swallowed it without any hesitation. He didn't even ask what kind of pill it was. Qin Haodong asked him to sit cross-legged, then put his palm on the Baihui acupoint on the top of his head, and used greenwood genuine qi to help him catalyze the effect of the pill. Zhou Tao felt a burning aura rising from his dantian and quickly swept through his whole body, as if all the meridians were burned. But this was nothing to him. As long as he could change his aptitude, he could persist even if he had to climb a mountain of knives and go through a sea of fire. About 10 minutes later, Qin Haodong withdrew his palm and said, "Well, although your current aptitude is not as good as that of the top geniuses who practice martial arts, you are much better than ordinary people." "Really, boss?" Zhou Tao jumped up from the ground and felt indescribably comfortable all over his body. His mind was much clearer. The martial arts problems that had troubled him for a long time in the past were solved as soon as he thought about it. "Boss, you are so great. Are you an immortal? I really love you." As he said that, he rushed to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong raised his hand and an invisible force blocked him outside. "Don't do that. I only like women. I'm not interested in men." "It's easy to like women." Zhou Tao was still excited and said, "Boss, my sister is a great beauty. Why don't you go after her? I can help you." Qin Haodong looked at him and said, "You won't sell your sister for an elixir, will you?" Zhou Tao said, Of course not. The key is that you are excellent enough. In the past, I thought that no man could match my sister. Now I think you can be my brother-in-law. What do you think? I don't think so. What's in your head? You'd better think about how to deal with the challenge on Monday. When Zhou Tao heard this, he said with a bitter face, Boss, you won't really sit back and do nothing, will you? Do you think the cultivation of those guys is worth it for me to fight? It's really not worth it. Zhou Tao also knew that with Qin Haodong's cultivation at the Supreme Power Realm, it was a bit bullying to deal with those guys at the Covert Power Realm at most. But he really couldn't beat them, let alone the others in the martial arts club. But boss, no buts. You have to rely on yourself to deal with those people. Qin Haodong said, it doesn't matter if your cultivation is low. I can help you improve it now. After that, he took out a big spirit culturing pill and threw it to Zhou Tao. Eat this and I'll help you break through to the Covert Power Realm. Really, boss? You are really my brother-in-law. Zhou Tao was so excited that he jumped high. In the past, Lei Bao told him that with his aptitude he could reach the 9th level of overt power at most. There was no hope for him to reach the Covert Power Realm in this life. Now that Qin Haodong could help him break through to the Covert Power Realm, how could he not be happy? Don't talk nonsense. Sit down quickly. Qin Haodong asked him to sit cross-legged and eat the big spirit culturing pill. Then he put his palm on his Baihui acupoint again and used greenwood genuine qi to catalyze the effect of the big spirit culturing pill. The big spirit culturing pill was originally used by masters at the Covert Power Realm. It was completely overkill for a warrior at the overt power realm like Zhou Tao. After Zhou Tao ate the pill, he suddenly felt that his whole dantian was boiling, like erupting magma, and the violent genuine qi was raging around his meridians. If an ordinary warrior at the overt power realm took the big spirit culturing pill rashly, the final result would be the explosion of his body and death. But with Qin Haodong by his side, this situation would naturally not happen. He turned the greenwood genuine qi into a fine net, which bound the genuine qi running around and could only move in the predetermined direction. Under the effect of the violent medicine, only a few minutes later, Zhou Tao heard a slight click in his mind. He broke through from the 8th level of overt power to the 9th level of overt power, and the surging genuine qi was much stronger than before. However, this small breakthrough only consumed a small part of the big spirit culturing pill. The genuine qi was still violent and rushed around. Under the guidance of Qin Haodong, 10 minutes later, the click sounded again. The momentum of Zhou Tao's body suddenly rose, and the surging genuine qi turned into a surging river, which was more than twice as thick as before. With the help of Qin Haodong, in less than 20 minutes, he completed a transformation from the 8th level of overt power to a warrior at the Covert Power Realm. He was ecstatic. He had once been determined that he had no fate with the Covert Power Realm in this life. He did not expect that he would break through so soon. At this time he admired his master very much. Calm down and consolidate your cultivation. It's not over yet. Qin Haodong did not stop. He guided Zhou Tao to run his genuine qi to consolidate the cultivation that had just been promoted to the level of covert power. At the same time he used the greenwood genuine qi to repair the damaged meridians during the breakthrough. Half an hour later, Zhou Tao had completely stabilized his cultivation. Qin Haodong took out 2 big spirit culturing pills and stuffed them into his mouth. The masters invited by Kim Yankwon were likely to be more than the first level of covert power. In order to ensure that they could win this competition, Qin Haodong certainly could not be satisfied with the first level of covert power, so he continued to help him improve his cultivation. After eating 2 big spirit culturing pills, Zhou Tao's genuine qi, which had just calmed down, boiled violently again. It was like pouring cold water into hot oil, raging wildly. Qin Haodong did the same thing and continued to help him break through the blocked meridians and improve his cultivation. About an hour later, Qin Haodong retracted his right hand, and the improvement, which was almost like enlightenment, was over. Zhou Tao suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were shining, and his whole body exuded a powerful momentum. He was like a different person from 2 hours ago. He jumped up from the ground. With such a light jump he jumped 3 or 4 meters high. He punched in the air. With a bang, the powerful fist force made a hole as big as a basketball in the wall next to him. After his feet landed on the ground, he plopped to his knees and said, "Zhou Tao thanks you for your kindness." He knew very well that all this was given by the master in front of him. Without Qin Haodong, he was destined to be ordinary in this life, and it was impossible for him to improve his cultivation to the 3rd level of covert power. "Get up." Qin Haodong waved his hand, and an invisible force dragged him up. "Boy, you are so happy when you are just at the 3rd level of covert power. I tell you, you must fix my wall or I won't let you go. Zhou Tao said with a smile, don't worry boss. I can build you another building. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.